What
Hello.
is up, everybody? Hello. Yes, we are back for the new episode of A Conversation with Kelly, episode Infinity +1. I don't even know at this point. But
Honestly.
we are, of course, here to finally cover the two most recent, if you're excluding tonight's episode of Survivor 45. I know we're a little bit behind, but we will get into all of that.
Yeah, we've
But
been
before we do,
we've just been so busy with like work and like life and orgs and stuff. So we've just been like a little behind, but we're finally getting caught up.
yeah, before we do get into all that, though, I am here, my loving, beautiful co-host, Allie. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I did a little bit of stuff this earlier on, like helped out with Emily a little bit with the Toys for Kids event.
Oh,
Um,
Emily on Survivor?
oh yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Um,
cool. They're
and
besties now.
and then I went to Winners and met up back with my mom, and I got the sweater. And then I went to a little Christmas mixer with Emily as well, my best friend, and at the food bank. So we did that tonight, and now I'm just chilling.
Yeah, that's always a great day. I didn't do too much. I worked, and now I'm just kind of chilling. Took a little nap earlier. We love a good nap, and now here to talk about Survivor. Which, I mean, before we just get into it, my quick thoughts on these two episodes. I mean, this season continues to just, in my opinion, be top tier. I think this season is generally the best season of Survivor we have covered on this podcast. I'm just really loving everything that I'm seeing, even if I don't love both of these episodes. The cast continues to deliver. I'm so sorry.
Aw.
I'm so sorry. The cast continues to deliver. The gameplay is just so exciting to watch. Every single tribal has been just insane this season. It's just turning out to be a really fun and just really great example of how incredible Survivor can be. And she froze. That's wonderful. I love that she froze. Before we get into all of this, that's great. I'm gonna try to stall as much as I possibly can until she comes back. But yeah, overall, really been loving this season. I think that there is a lot to really love about these two episodes. You are not back yet. You are still frozen on my end. Um, yeah, like I said, this season's been great so far. I'm really enjoying it quite a bit. I think there is. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm not sure if it's her internet or my internet, so I'm gonna restart my computer and then we'll come back.
All right, so I am back. I don't know if that was my internet connection or his, or it was just StreamYard being mean to me, but I'm back. But yeah, the most like the third well, obviously because we're not doing tonight's episode yet, we're gonna do that one in a separate video. But I will say now the third recent one was not great, but it wasn't awful. But like the most recent one before tonight's was honestly so good and definitely very top tier. And obviously I'm very excited to talk about this week's episode as well. But this time we're just doing episodes 9 and 10, and then 11 we'll just do probably this weekend or next week before next week's episode. But mostly this season has been very good. Obviously, some episodes haven't been as strong, but the majority have just been top tier. And just like, honestly, it's been such a great season, and I'm probably going to give it at least an A- overall.
Okay,
Hi,
I'm back. What was the last thing you heard before your internet went all like?
Oh, I was just talking about my thoughts on the recent episodes.
Yeah, like I said, we're a little bit behind schedule, but we are going to talk about the 2 most recent episodes, excluding the one that just aired tonight. That will come out sometime probably over the weekend. But anyway, yeah, we'll just get right into it. So, Allie, you're going to start off with the notes for episode 9.
All right. So with Kelly gone, Kendra is feeling sad and silently cheers to her.
Oh, one quick thing I did want to say as a little aside before episode 9. This was the first episode of this season that I didn't absolutely love. I still liked it. It still was a good episode, but I do think there are some things that go down in this that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but it's a real testament to how good the cast was that even the worst episodes of 45 are still episodes I can enjoy.
Yeah, this episode is very just straightforward, but it's still good.
Yeah, a little too straightforward.
So Jake, meanwhile, is ecstatic to still be in the game, but also is shocked at the way the vote just played out.
Whoa!
His reactions are so funny.
Well, it's so good because it feels like he's like a fan watching the show. Like he reacts the way we do.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And it feels so like endearing that way. Like I feel like if it felt phony, it wouldn't work, but it's because it feels so like, okay, this is a fan who is loving the show and forgets he's playing the game.
Yeah, literally, like I've honestly like grown to really love Jake lately.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Jake, especially in the second episode we're talking about.
Oh yeah. So Jake says he was aware that he wasn't reading well people, but wasn't aware of how bad he was reading people, but he had no idea the vote would be Kelly, and he doesn't even feel he was left in the dark because he wasn't even left in the sand to mention. But now he has a brand new opportunity to entirely change the way he's been playing.
Yeah, and this is like what I've been saying. I think the difference between like Jake and say Bruce is that like Bruce only has known how to play like one way, so wants to continue to play that way. Jake is far more adaptable. He's realizing that the way he's been trying to play isn't working. He needs to shift. And I think that's what makes Jake the better player. I think that's what makes him the more impressive player. And I think that's why he goes farther.
Oh, I agree. So Bruce talks to the Reba 4 and Emily is upset. Bruce talks to the Reba 4 and Emily and is upset that Kelly was voted out, feeling like if it wasn't her, it would have been him without the idol he had as well. And Drew says he thinks the reasons were more complicated than that. And Bruce says to explain them to him so he knows. And Drew talks about how much she was rooting for him, and no one told him because they all felt like he was tied with her and that he'd tell her, and she turned things against them.
Yeah, I mean, this is so good from Drew. Like, Drew does such a good job of making it seem like it was, like, advantageous for Kelly to go for his game and things like that, and Bruce, like, should be happy that Kelly went. Like, this was just a really great move from Drew.
Oh, it's so good. Like, he's honestly playing very well.
Yeah.
Bruce says this is part of the game, and he's not salty against anybody. He asks for clarification, and Dee says from what they've all been hearing, Kelly they've all been hearing Kelly. They felt like she was under his wing and felt she was on house arrest by him.
And that part is true, but Drew really, Drew kind of twists it around and makes it seem like Kelly was, like, gunning for Bruce to go, which
Mhm.
she was and she wasn't. Like, she didn't want Bruce to go, but she knew he kind of had to because he was, like, a
Yeah.
hindrance to her game. So I think this is, like, the perfect example of kind of like a half-truth where it's like, yes, Kelly wanted Bruce to go. No, she didn't want him to go this round.
Oh, I agree. Like Kelly loved him like as a person and she did trust him, but she's also like, I need to get rid of him because like he is a
He was a
hindrance.
liability.
Yeah, he was. So Bruce says at Tribal he was extremely shocked and had no idea the votes were going to go down how they did. It's extremely scary to have his closest ally in the game and to find out that Kelly was trying to vote him out. He was devastated. And he didn't overreact, but on the inside he's panicking. His closest ally is gone, and it's shocking to hear that he was overbearing, and it sucks because it's not his personality.
Yeah.
I did feel for him here, honestly. Like,
I didn't.
I mean, yes and no.
I didn't really feel for him because, like, he did this to himself. Like, he could have easily tried to switch things up. He could have easily, like, recognized where he was at, and he didn't.
Yeah. Katurah and Kendra talk about how they both said they would never write down Kelly's name, establishing that from the beginning and how they both meant it.
Mm-hmm.
Kendra says it's so shocking to her how hard it is to watch her literal day one first friend of Survivor's torch get snuffed, but on the other side, she's no longer a threat to win, and she probably has a jury vote from her to the end of the game, and her hands are clean, but now her and Katurah have to figure out how to shake up the game and get a bigger player out.
Yeah, I mean, Kendra is not in a great spot anymore.
Not at all. She's always been such a wild card. Like, we never knew how far she was going to make it.
Just the way they edited her, she never seemed like someone who was going to make a deep run, like, just based on her edit.
Oh, yeah. She talks to Katurah about wanting Dee out, and Katurah asks her if she's the biggest threat on Reba, and Kendra feels she is. Katurah then goes to Julie and tells her about this. Kendra
Yeah,
says,
I mean, this was crazy, the way that Katurah just went right to Julie about this, but I think it's
no.
smart that she does, because Katurah knows she's kind of at a deficit here if she sticks with Bellows. She doesn't really have a choice but to go to Reba and try to give them this information. Did you think this was a good move on Katurah's part?
Yes and no, in a way. Like, I mean, yeah, in a way it does get them on her side, but like, not the greatest move.
Why?
Oh wait, no, it's
Why is it
sorry.
not?
Sorry, never mind. I thought it was good. Sorry.
No. But why? No, I just want to know, like, why you didn't think it was the greatest move. Like, I want us to talk about it.
I mean, I thought it was good because sorry, I was thinking of something else. I mean, it's good because it gets them on her side.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I think that.
it gets them to trust her.
I think, yeah, obviously it sucks that, like, she has to throw Kendra under the bus, but I think Katurah realizes, like, sticking with Kendra and Jake and Bruce is kind of a losing battle at this point. She kind of has to stick to Reba. Even though Reba might not feel necessarily the same way about her, I think it's good that Katurah at least tries to, like, align with the people she wasn't going to, which is another reason why they're at where they're at, is because of Bruce and him telling them not to strategize with Reba. Katurah is realizing we kind of have to at this point.
Yeah, definitely. She's just being very adaptable.
Yeah.
Kendra says Dee is a beast at challenges. She's super social and very likable, which is true. Katurah says right now it's either go with old Bello or old Reba, and she's been with old Bello since day one, and that clearly has done nothing for her. So with Reba, while she's the fifth that can bring them information from Bello and help them knock off Bello people.
The only thing about this is that she's very much not the fifth. That's the thing. Like, she is, I would say, the sixth or the seventh. I think Emily is, like, very much the fifth for Reba. Katurah's probably, like, after that. So that's the only thing that sucks about this, is that Katurah is really underestimating the type of sway that Emily has with them and the type of bond she has with them. And I think that is what
Mhm.
is going to hurt her in the end. But again, I think it's better to at least try to talk to the other side and try to make something happen than just continue to work with a group that is just not benefiting her at all.
Yeah, exactly. Julie tells Dee Kendra is coming for her, and Dee is not surprised to hear about this. And Austin says they do have two vitals, and they can each defend it to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Austin now has a full idol with Kelly gone, and so with two idols, he has a lot of firepower to play with right now.
Which is insane, the fact that he was able to get both idols.
I know, it's so funny, but like I will think I mean it's really good, but like I do think it'd be funny if he left with his idols.
I just, yeah, that's it. I've literally been saying this. Like, I feel like because we've been so focused on Austin as to get this idol, I feel like it's going to end up being his demise. I'm just kind of waiting for it at this point. But maybe at this point, I'm talking out of my ass because of where we're at in the show. It hasn't happened. So maybe it won't happen, but I still just want to see it happen because I think it'd be very exciting if it did.
Oh yeah, it'd be so fun to watch. Austin asks them if they should flush the idol and get Kendra or flush it and get Jake and Drew, and says the number one priority is flushing Bruce's idol, and Kendra needs to go too, and they need to win the next mini challenge.
Yep.
Austin is hoping the next step would be to get rid of Bruce, who has an idol, Jake, who is doing whatever he can to find an idol, and Kendra, who is now going after his alliance. So Bruce is in a weird mind space, knowing what he knows now about Kelly, and now it's becoming scary, knowing he's in a spot where personally he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't even want to talk about anything or vibe with them. Even Jake, who was over celebrating when someone's having a serial moment of sadness. But what irritates him the most is Kelly was his closest ally, saying he was overbearing to her, and it's weird because he has his daughter back home and he doesn't treat these people any differently than he does her. And when he goes back home, he'll have to ask his wife and daughter if he's overbearing, and if she feels he hasn't allowed her to grow, and if she does feel that way, he will make the changes necessary to make sure she can live a different life than what he's gone through.
Yeah, I thought this was a really good moment from Bruce. Kind of him
Oh,
realizing that,
yeah.
like, yeah, maybe there is this part of myself that like comes across that way. I need to kind of like make active steps to improve it. Like this is good. I like seeing this. Like I like
I
seeing
did too.
when people are self-aware and they realize a flaw of themselves and they can kind of discover it through the game. They don't try to like backpedal and like pretend it doesn't exist. I like that Bruce is admitting
Yeah.
like this might actually be a problem. I thought this was a good moment for him.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, like I don't even dislike him at all. Like I don't think
No,
anyone really dislikes him. Some people really all I've heard people say is he can be a little annoying at times, but like he is a likable person. Like he does seem like a very nice person.
yeah, I don't think he's been unlikable in the slightest. I think, especially compared to some other shows we watch, like I don't think
True.
anyone on this cast has been like unlikable.
Same. I agree. Like I love everybody on this cast.
Yeah, like I think honestly, like most reality show casts need to kind of take a lesson from this cast where it's like you can still be really cutthroat and really messy, but still like not try to be too personal about it. And if you are, you can kind of try to like reassess things about yourself. Like I think this is, certain people need to take notes from this.
Yeah, exactly. So Bruce talks a bit about his childhood in the foster care system. His life has been survivor as so many kids come in and out of the house getting to know them and then they leave. So he has developed a bit of a thicker skin as he's been through the muck, and in his normal life, everyday life, he doesn't usually have to dig into his own emotions and feels he may be getting a bit too soft in his old age.
Yeah. And that was again a really good moment, I think, for him talking about everything he's been through and things like that.
Yeah. Drew feels Bruce is in a tempestuous place as today he doesn't want to work around camp and is obviously upset, and he thinks a lot of that comes from the fact he's been playing an imaginary game of Survivor, and now that has come down, his two choices where he can either confront the reality of or his situation, which is pretty bleak, or reject it. To one is moving forward and the other is holding back an ego. And for a guy like him, it's hard to stop to take a lot of at the crossroads and say maybe he went in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I mean, Drew's right about this. This is exactly what I've been talking about. It's like it's easier to say that, oh, I'm playing fine. I don't have to change anything up. I can just kind of live in my own delusion, than come to the conclusion where it's like, oh, wait, this has not been working for me. I need to pivot. Like it's hard. It hits you. You have to kind of
Yeah,
like reassess the way you've been playing the game. So yeah, I mean, this has exactly been Bruce's problem, is that he hasn't tried to change it up. And now he kind of has to. And it's about, is he actually going to try to change it up, or is he just going to do the same thing he's been doing?
exactly.
I mean, honestly, like, we'll get more into it later, but like, I could have never imagined Bruce would play the way that he did. And I feel
Yeah,
like both of these episodes just really like underscore that.
oh yeah, definitely. So Emily talks about how she has an alliance with Austin and Drew, but they both have very close relationships with their old Reva tribe, and Dee and Austin have been getting especially close, and she wanted to broach the subject of getting her out sooner rather than later to see where their true loyalties lie.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great move from Emily. Her realizing, like, maybe I'm not in the greatest position with Austin and Drew, but if I am, I kind of want to see if like they're willing to take that shot. Like, this is what you do when you're in the outs, and there's like a this very well known like 4-person alliance, and you're trying to kind of weasel your way into it, but also like see where you're at. I think she handled this as best as she could.
I think so too. She like she like was just she's like, I want to be their number three instead of Dee and Julie.
Yeah. Well, I think it's not so much that. I think it's more so her seeing if they're willing to take that shot,
Yeah,
which,
definitely.
we'll talk
Exactly.
about what happens.
She's like, they should cut them.
Yeah.
So she talks to them about it and says she thinks she can get Bruce, Katurah, Kendra, and Jake to put their votes on someone like Dee. Austin says the thing is with her that she's kind of taken the target off of everybody right now, which is nice. And Drew agrees, thinking flushing the idol is still the number one priority. And she is shocked by how quick they are to shut this down. She
Yeah, and this
mentioned
should be like a major red flag. Like this is not what you want to hear.
she mentions to them how if Dee is in the final three, she wins, and they agree. And Austin says he just needs to think a little bit more on it.
Which is code for no, I'm never doing this, but thank you, I respect you. That's literally what he's saying.
Emily says the hesitancy on their part to cut down any of those old Reba numbers has her rethinking her alliance with them, not wanting to be at the bottom of a 5-person alliance.
Which is smart. And I'm glad that she's recognizing that, like,
Yeah.
she's not in a great spot if she moves forward with like just them.
Yeah. Austin completely understands where she's coming from, knowing that her two closest allies have key relationships with 2 other players. He would also be terrified. So the key is to make sure her fears are dwindled down as low as possible so he can continue working with both sides. He doesn't know if he can bring himself to blindside Dee, as they're such good friends that have bonded so well, and he's not ready to see her go, so he just needs to push it back a little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, really great on Austin for being able to do that, because it's like, when there's someone like Dee who is in such a good spot and she doesn't benefit your game, but you're able to kind of like hold off that person targeting her. I mean, props to you. And I think Austin really kills it here.
Yeah. They then all receive tree mail that the stakes couldn't be higher, and it should
Here we go.
And it should cause anxiety beyond nerves, as only one wins immunity, and they should divide into their tribe into thirds, meaning they each need to divide into 3 groups of 3.
It's like every season, like we're at a point where things are going really well and we're really into what's happening, and then they have to like completely just deflate the tension with like a really stupid twist. And like this is exactly the kind of season that like you did not need this at all. Like there's already enough tension going on. There's already enough excitement going on in this episode. This was like completely unnecessary. There's nothing about this twist by the end where I was like, oh, this was something they needed to do. Oh, this really changed the game. Like, basically added nothing. It just made things a lot more predictable. And I was not a fan of this at all. I think this is easily something they could have just scrapped.
I thought it was completely pointless and should not have been there. Like,
Yeah,
sure,
especially at this
why?
point of the game. Like, if you're gonna do a twist like this, at least do it, like, early merge. We're basically at the middle of the game at this point. Like, this is not the time to be doing this.
No, like, they're supposed to be at merge, they're not in groups anymore or
Yeah.
tribes. So Drew doesn't want this at all, hoping it's not random picks or team selections. He wants to make it as fair as possible while also maintaining a numbers advantage for himself.
Mhm.
So the pairs are as followed: Drew, Jake, and Dee, Katurah, Emily, and Austin, and Julie, Bruce, and Kendra. And then Katurah is unsure what this group of three means, as who she really wants in it. Maybe her alliance or her enemies, because Bruce is everyone's target, and they're all working really hard to get him out. But she's on a team with Austin and Emily.
The other part I really hate about this, and it's kind of the same thing I said when Big Brother 24 did it with the split house and things like that. They should not have allowed them to choose their pairs. They absolutely
Mhm.
should not. You are at too crucial of a point in the game. They know where their bonds are. Like, I like that they wanted to make them as fair as possible, but
Yeah.
like Drew and if they're going to tribal, like we don't know what's happening at this point. Like if they're going to tribal, Jake is fucked. Drew and D are going to vote together.
Mhm.
If Katurah, Emily, and Austin go tribal, Austin's probably fucked, or Katurah's probably fucked because Emily and Austin are working together. And then Julie, Bruce, and Kendra. That's probably the most exciting. I don't know what would have happened there. I think probably Julie gets voted out, but like, I really wish they would have again just really rethought this because I think not only was this an unnecessary twist, it also was like not the most fair considering that again they let them choose their trios. For example,
Wasn't fair.
not to pat myself on the back, but I just hosted a game that you were in actually where we did a duo twist of sorts, but we didn't let them choose their duos because that would be completely unfair, especially to those that maybe aren't as feeling great about themselves socially in the game. So we just completely randomized it. So if you're gonna do this, like just give them rocks, like just draw rocks. This is exactly the kind of twist you do that for. Again, just completely unnecessary. Was not a fan of this at all.
Oh no, I thought it was just like really pointless, and it was just not fair at all. And I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
why? It was just so frustrating.
I mean, I would have hated it more if it played like a major role in the episode. Like, let's say all of them go to tribal or something like that, like all three of them do. But it wasn't like that major, but still, like it definitely lessened a lot of the excitement from this episode with
Yeah,
what they end up doing.
definitely. So Austin feels pretty good with his team, but not with Julie, Bruce, and Kendra. It's a tricky team, and if something were to happen in that group of three, he thinks Julie would be the one to go.
I would agree.
Yeah. Julie says it's terrifying because while Reba has the core four, Jeff keeps splitting them up. So now she's worried each tribe may have to vote someone out, which would mean she's out.
I'm very happy that was not the case. That would have been really bad.
I know. And she runs over to Austin and she runs over to Austin and tells him her dilemma, and he says he'll give her the idol in her bag, and he does exactly that to make sure she stays safe.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh
this is
yeah,
exactly what
I
you need.
forgot. Oh yeah, he did give her the idol.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what you need to do. Ever since what happened with Matt last season, I've been saying this, like now you need to just make sure you always have your stuff because you might not be able to grab it. So I thought this was really good on Austin's part of giving her the idol. So all right, but let's get to the immunity challenge. So basically, before they start, Jeff asked them some questions about the tree mail. Katurah says that they were all unsure how to divide themselves, but she thinks they did what was the most fair. They then divide into their groups of three, and then he tells them what's going to happen. So this challenge is going to run in 3 stages. For the first stage, they will retrieve a disc and use it to balance a ball as they navigate a balance beam. Once all these 3 players are across, they will race to dig up their rope runs. The first 2 groups to finish then move on to the next phase. The last group to finish is out with no shot immunity. For the next stage, they will use those rope runs to build a bridge, and once each person is across the bridge, they will race to land those 3 balls on 3 very small rings. First group to finish moves on to the final round, and with the second group out. And then for the final round, they are no longer a team. They will be competing against each other. They will have their arms outstretched with their fingertips pressed against 2 wooden discs. If at any point the disc drops, they are out. Last person left standing then wins immunity, securing their spot in the final 8. But in addition, they are playing for a reward where the group who makes it to the final stage, regardless who wins, will go to the sanctuary and enjoy an afternoon of rotisserie chicken. But there is, of course, another twist, and this is where we get to the and everything he said so far, I'm fine with. Like, okay, cool, they get to go to the sanctuary, they get to bond, that's fine. This is the part where I'm like, no, this is stupid. Because the first group that's out, all 3 players lose their votes at tonight's tribal council. They will take a journey where they have a chance to earn it back. And
I will say I did not like that.
No, this is the part that I just did not like at all. Not just because of the fact that they basically lose their vote just because they did badly in a challenge, but also the fact that, like, now they have to try to win it back, and they could win it back if they're good at the challenge. 1, that should not be something that they're doing. 2, at this point in the game, especially Final 9, every vote matters. You should not be having people lose their vote and things like that.
Yep.
It's such a crucial part of the game, and to have not just 1, not 2, but 3 players stripped of their ability, it just completely like diffuses all the tension. Like, it makes this so much less exciting when now only 6 of the final 9 are voting. It's just like, what's even the point? Like, it just,
because that could like really fuck up all of them over.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, I think Emily like says it best. She says it later on in the episode. She's like, I mean, when you can't vote, like, you don't even have a say in what's going on, which is true. Because like, why are you gonna come to me if I can't vote? Like, what's the point?
Like, they're just,
like I'm not a factor in what's happening.
Yeah, like the 3 people who lose their vote are just like useless.
Yeah, they're basically just there to be there, pretty much. Like, they don't have a say in anything.
They're like, hey, don't vote me, thanks.
Yeah, and I mean, that gives you further incentive to vote them as well. That's the other reason I don't like this, because like, let's say Emily or Katurah or Austin, who we'll get into, if one of them are the target, there's nothing they can do about it except like play an idol, So
exactly.
While it is a grueling challenge for many, ultimately, Bruce, Julie, and Kendra do make it to the final stage, with Bruce once again winning immunity, which, fun fact, Jeff said this, he also becomes the first male player to win this challenge. It's almost always been a woman that has won, and he secured his spots in the final 8. Crazy that Bruce wins back-to-back immunities here. Definitely not something I would have expected.
I know.
But a really good moment for him all around. But this also means, as a result of coming in third, Emily, Katurah, and Austin have all lost their votes for the round, with the ability to get it back on the journey. Emily is saying that right now 4 is in the majority, so everyone is walking out under the assumption that the 3 of them don't have a vote, and they are working with to get and who they're working with to get 4, and the pressure is really going to be on them to get their votes back. Otherwise, all their names are going to be on the chopping block. Exactly. This is why I don't like this, because it's so easy to just be like, hey, this is why it's not as exciting. Like, when everybody can vote, like, anything can happen.
Yes, exactly.
If this cast was a lot more boring, they could have easily said, well, Emily doesn't have a vote, or Katurah doesn't have a vote. Let's just, vote her off here. Like, nothing can happen if we just vote her off. It doesn't even matter. She's not going to vote, so it doesn't matter. Like, it's just kind of unfair. It's kind of like, it's not even that it's unfair. It's just boring. Like, it's just really boring to watch. Like, when someone can't even fight, like, it's just very unnecessary. Like, I just don't understand why they did this at all. But basically, Katurah feels everyone has hit her with a ton of bricks. Bruce getting his second immunity win in a row. She doesn't have a vote, and going into a journey that she's heard terrible things, and to add icing to the cake, she doesn't get chicken. So that's her life today. She really wanted that chicken, and she was very upset she didn't. So from here on out, they basically split into 3. I'm going to talk about the group that makes it back to camp and the discussion that they have. From there, Allie's going to talk about the sanctuary, and then I will talk about the journey. So back at camp, Drew, Dee, and Jake head back They discuss what to do with the vote, but mostly just chill and discuss how many votes will be cast at this tribal. Drew then says that Bruce will be winning another immunity. It's tough. He has that idol, which he's hanging on to viciously, and they can't flush it. On the other hand, if they come back to camp, not in the sanctuary or on the journey, they are in middle ground. So they have time to relax and nurse themselves. However, they also can't begin strategizing because they need to wait for the power group at the sanctuary to come back. And again, this is the other part I don't like about it. It's like, yes, these three are at camp, but it's just the three of them. Like, there's not really a lot they can talk about because they don't know what the consensus is going to be. Obviously, the group that is the most safe is probably going to dictate what happens with the vote. That's just typically how it goes.
Like,
so again, it's just not as exciting. So basically they talk about what votes will be available to them from people on the journey. So it's all up in the air, and they're in a middle zone where they have to wait for one of the outcomes to happen. And we're also waiting for one of the outcomes to happen because this is just not exciting. But
I know.
Drew then asks Jake how he's feeling now the shock has worn off about last night's, and Jake says he's still wicked happy to still be in the game. He just needs to figure out what he does moving forward, since basically he's a free agent and he doesn't want to force anything or freak out like yesterday. Jake talks about how prior to last tribal, his alliance was supposed to be original Bellow members, but they all voted for him. So if things stay the same, he's still on the bottom, and his game plan right now is to build trust with people that he hasn't really worked with. So now he's trying to listen from his mistakes, which is kind of tough to do mid-game, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so he has to do it now. He doesn't think his foot has come off the gas at all, but he's turning the high beams on. And again, just continue to be very impressed by Jake's game. He really is like the cat with 9 lives at this point. Like, he's just like impossible to get out. And I think again,
he's always like the easy vote that doesn't leave.
Yeah, because I think he's very adaptable. Like, people are always willing to scoop him up. When you're in the position of Jake, like, you're basically a free agent. And I think he's playing it the best way you possibly can. You don't just keep saying you're a free agent. You actually show what you are willing to do, the moves that you're willing to make, the groups that you're willing to form. He's doing a very good job with that, I think. And I legitimately do think, I know people think it's crazy, I do think Jake has a shot of making it to the end. I really do. I think it very well could happen.
I feel like he's like probably has the lowest chance to win, but I could see him in the end.
I don't know if he wins, but I definitely think he could make it to the end. So
I could see him getting at least a couple votes, but I don't see him being a 0 vote finalist.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. So Drew then talks to Dee about how her and Austin will likely get votes tonight, and the idol should be played on both of them. He asks her if they're a majority, who'd she want to take out, and she says Kendra, and he agrees that she's such a wild card. And Dee really impresses me this episode. I mean, she's been great the whole season, but this was 100% her move. Everything that happens here, I mean, Dee just really kills it in this episode. Because she's very happy that she didn't win immunity. She's stirring the pot and throwing her name out so that she can get some rotisserie chicken, but she'll be eating more of that soon when she's out of the game. So they all indulge in eating some rice. Jake says and I did think it was really funny how Drew and Dee were like chowing down on so much rice. They didn't have like enough for Jake, and they basically lie to him and say like, oh, there wasn't much to begin with. Some of it got burned. I thought that was a really funny scene when they're like, oh my God, we don't have enough for Jake. Like, that was a fun little thing that happened. But Jake says he does have to feel like he's in danger, as there's always a possibility he could go next, especially after the vote last night. Jake says he wants people to think that they can use him, kind of acting a bit like a dog, and he thinks that's really the move right now, which, again, is like exactly the way you play this. So, again, good on Jake for recognizing that. So he asks Drew if there's any world that doesn't involve getting him out. Drew says he thinks that there's a lot of worlds that could mean Katurah or Kendra, and his threat level is pretty low right now. Jake says whenever he comes up with, he could be his assistants, but he's open to anything, and he throws out Kendra as an option, which Drew agrees on. And it's good that he is willing to say, I'll vote Kendra here. Like, it shows he doesn't have loyalties to Bello. He's completely open, but he also isn't just saying I'm open. He's actually pushing names and, doing some effective work. And I think that's what's working out really well for Jake. But that's everything going on back at camp. Like I said, not a lot to talk about because there's only 3 people. Where else there's 3 people? The sanctuary. So Allie, let's talk about what's going down at the sanctuary, which, spoilers, not much.
Nope. So everyone arrives and is excited to eat chicken, which Kendra hasn't eaten in 15 years, as chickens are her favorite animal, but she has to do so now.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. It's like,
was.
Kendra doesn't like eating meat, but she kind of has to because it's like, this is the only thing I can, eat right now.
She's
So
like,
kind of have
"Yay."
to.
She's like, yay, I could at least eat something.
Yeah.
So Bruce says he's got grease and gristle and had chicken wing all over his hand, and that is stark contrast to this morning. And it has just revived the reason why he's here. He's playing this game for his family, and he couldn't leave his negative space this morning. He just couldn't get out of it. But sitting there with a big old jumpstick and immunity and a hidden immunity idol made the chicken taste so much better.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce is now feeling much better, obviously. He's won immunity, so he feels in much better spirits at this point.
Yeah. Kendra tells Julie she's really nervous about tonight, and Julie asks what they're all thinking and how they see the end, and Kendra
And this is probably the most
Julie,
interesting part of the sanctuary, this conversation that goes down.
Yeah, and Kendra asks Julie how she is with her Reba people, and Julie says she feels like she's at the bottom and has to make a move at some point. And Kendra asks who she's most threatened by and throws out Austin and Dee and thinks they're secretly in love, which she loves, and wants them together. And Julie says she's her girl, but she gets what she's saying. That was
let's talk about that for a second. I don't know where this came from. I have not for a second thought that Austin and Dee have like an attraction to each other. If they do, great. I'm happy for them. Cool. I hope they're, I hope things worked out. But I did not feel like they portrayed as such at all.
Yeah, if they are a thing, good for them. But if not, we'll see.
Yeah, in terms of Julie though, I mean, I think it's good that Julie says like she's on the bottom here. She feels like she's not in a great spot in her alliance, which does track. I mean, like I said with Julie, her entire arc this season has been her wanting to do something different than what the rest of her alliance is doing. So it makes sense that she thinks that she's in that position. But I don't think I don't think she handles this the best.
No, she really doesn't. So Julie says she knows Kendra wants Dee out, and she just wears it, all of her emotion, but she doesn't want her out. She wants to go to the end with her and would never write her name. And she says
Which is going to be her downfall at this point, because I don't know if Dee has the same interest.
Same, because Dee seems more fluid.
But yeah, I think Dee will literally go to the end with anybody that wants to take her. Like, I think that's where Dee is.
Yeah.
Like, she's not just, like, singling out, she's not just centering on getting to the end with Julie. She's thinking about all other paths.
Mm-hmm. So she says to Kendra she would like to propose for Jake's name to be written down again. And Bruce says if she wants Jake, she'll get Jake.
Yeah.
And Bruce's tribe lines are gone. If this game is fluid and has to keep moving, and Jake's has no footing with anyone now, and he's not going down with this ship. So if Julie wants Jake, it's fine with him.
Yeah.
And then Kendra says Julie throws out Jake, and she's surprised Bruce is agreeing with it, and she's very much thinking anyone but her. And the 3 people who lost their vote, they don't know if they'll get their vote back, so they have to settle on a name, and Jake kind of seems like an easy target. He doesn't have a shot in the dark or an idol, so they should send him a vote.
Or send him out, I think is what that's supposed to say.
Oh, send him out, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think I get what Bruce was trying to do here, but I think in him saying that, like, I'm fine with Jake going, it kind of makes it seem like, okay, but who are you loyal to, Bruce? Like, it kind of puts him in the spot where it's like, oh, Bruce is so willing to go for Jake. That means he's willing to go for basically anybody. And I think that's probably his biggest issue here, is that I think he should have pushed more against Jake and try to push it onto somebody else. And I think that this actually could have maybe worked out. This could have maybe flipped Julie into doing something different.
Exactly. Because, like, yeah. So Julie says she can believe Bruce and Kendra that they're voting on Jake. It's music to her ears, but she doesn't see it going that easy, which, I mean, true.
Yeah, let's talk about the journey now. Which, oh my god, the most boring part of the episode. I'm so shocked.
I know,
We
it
get to
was
the
so
journey.
it was literally
Um,
like
yeah, this was just like such an unnecessary twist, and even more so by the way this plays out. So Emily, Austin, and Katurah head to a sign that tells them that they will all be able to earn back their votes. They are to trek to the lookout and then pick a path. Emily says that the vote survivor is everything in their lives, and if she doesn't have a vote, she's totally useless to everybody here. Exactly. That's why this is
uh-huh.
stupid, because you're useless.
Yep.
So if there's an opportunity to get it back, she needs to do whatever it takes to do so. And the only thing that's going on her head is don't choke, and to just to finish the challenge, complete whatever she needs to complete and get her vote back. So Austin is hoping this is something in his wheelhouse. He doesn't want to leave it to chance. So they then each head over to the plaque and they're told they're going to have to complete a logic puzzle. So they're
Oh,
told
no.
without changing or the
Oh,
numbers
geez. A logic puzzle
using
is hard. Logic puzzles
yeah,
are hard.
using 3 plus signs and 1 minus sign to solve the equation equals 100 exactly. Once they feel they completed the equation, they are to flip the answer board to see if they are correct. I will say, glad it was a logic puzzle. It was a fair comp, but like this is like
Yeah.
the bare minimum. Like I don't care I don't care about this. I don't care that they have to compete, that they get to compete in a comp to then win their vote back. To me, that's even more unfair because it's
Oh,
like
it's
just
terrible.
because someone didn't do well in a comp, they've now lost their vote.
Mhm.
This has now happened 2 times. Like
Yep.
I think honestly, if they wanted them not to have their vote, they should have just kept it that way because not having somebody like get back their vote, I'm not a fan of any of this, the way they did this. So
I'm not
everyone
even
really seems to struggle except Austin, who is able to successfully win back his vote. This
I
means
will
that
say
Emily can
I will say Austin is the one who's, like, the most safe. It's so unfair that he got his vote back.
yeah, that's the other thing. Like like, it's not unfair that he got it back because he did successfully complete the puzzle, but it
Yeah.
is the most unexciting. Like seeing Emily or Katurah get their vote back would have
Yep.
been way more exciting to watch. See them actually maybe get to pull something off. But once Austin got it back, it's like, okay, Kendra's probably gone. So this means Emily and Katurah still have lost their vote and as such have zero say as to what's going to happen at Tribal. Again, just completely unnecessary. Not a fan of this at all. Let's just move on. Talk about the everyone
Okay.
coming back.
All right. Post journey and sanctuary. Everyone returns from their journeys and their feasts. And Emily's not feeling great about her position coming back to her camp. It's the first time in a while she feels on the outs and that she's not doing anything right. It's like her first days in Lulu all over again.
And the difference with that is that at least in when she was in Lulu, like she did something to put herself in this position. This time, no. It's literally just because she lost her vote. That's why this is so stupid.
It's so dumb. So they then all explain what happened with Austin lying that he doesn't have a vote, that he doesn't vote alongside the other two. Austin doesn't want people to know Reba has the numbers, but he always comes clean to his alliance of 4, and he thinks that's why they are all been so strong throughout the game, because they know he will tell them the truth.
This was a really good move on his part.
Yeah.
Kind of because he's been doing this all season. Like he lies to everybody except Reba, and it's been working out for him. And I think this is something that like if he gets to the end is like really impressive because it's like
Yeah.
okay, I hid all this information from you. I only told certain people. I was able to make sure they were good enough with me to where they didn't spill it. I think Austin is just really good at lying. Honestly, he's a very good
He
liar, and
is.
I think we're seeing that.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Like, he's honestly really good at that.
Yeah.
So he then confesses to them that he has it, which they're all ecstatic about. Dee talks to him about how, with the 4 of them all having votes, they can basically pick who goes, and it has to be Kendra.
Reba is lucky that they're as likable as they are because normally I would be very bored with the steamroll, but because this has been a very entertaining cast, I'm not
Yeah.
too upset about it.
Oh, no, same. Dee says she knows Kendra is coming for her, so since she has the numbers, she has to take her out.
Yeah, and I mean, again, just really great on D the way she managed this because I think if D is not as adamant about going for Kendra, I think Jake just goes here. I think that's probably what happens. They just
Yeah,
get
I think
Jake
so
out. Julie probably pushes it and she goes. But that
too.
doesn't really benefit D. She needs Kendra out because Kendra has actively been coming for her. Kendra's actively
Yeah.
saying her name to Julie. Kendra's actively saying her name to like Drew and Austin. Who's not doing that is Jake. So just really masterful job on D's end all around. I
Oh
thought that
yeah,
she
like
really killed
D,
this round.
yeah, D literally spearheads this.
Yeah.
So Dee says she knows Kendra is coming for her, so since she has a number. Oh, sorry, I read that already. She starts off by talking to Julie, who talks to her about her conversation with Kendra and Bruce, and Dee says they should make Bello think it's Jake and then vote Kendra.
Yeah.
And then Julie is annoyed because she's working Bruce and Kendra to get Jake. So this doesn't align with her game. So Dee has her own personal agenda and she's got hers, and she doesn't know how that will play out.
What I'm saying, like, how does Julie win this game? Like, she's never gotten what she's wanted any round.
I
It's
mean, like,
always
yeah,
been
I will say she's likable, but she definitely doesn't have like a strong game like a Drew or a D, for instance.
like for me, the problem is like if you're at the end and you're basically saying I had to kind of like, settle for what they were doing versus what I was doing. To me, what that tells me is you just played for your alliance. You didn't try
Yeah.
to have any agency of your own. And I think that is
Yep.
Julie's problem, is that she doesn't have the connections that Drew, Austin, or D have. And that puts her in a really bad spot. Like, I don't think Julie's leaving anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's winning this game. I don't see it. Oh, and you're frozen again. All right. Wonderful. But no, I just like Julie winning this game, I think is just gonna be really tough. It's not so much that like I don't think she's done anything, because she has. It's just it hasn't been effective with what she's been doing. There are moves that she's wanted to make that hasn't happened, and this is yet another one where it's like she wanted Jake out. She was pushing for Jake, but that's not what D, Austin, and Drew wanted to do, and unfortunately, she kind of just had to settle with that. And I think that is what is going to hurt Julie at the end. It's like, what did you do on your own that Drew, Austin, and D didn't? She doesn't really have that agency. She doesn't, and it's not like she doesn't have it. Like, she has it in her. It's just the way that she's been set up, unfortunately. She hasn't really been able to show that. And so to me, I just feel like Julie, out of the Reba 4, has the least chance to win the game. And it sucks because I like Julie a lot, but I just feel like it's not going to happen for her just because of the way things have shaken out. I just don't see it. But we'll have to see what happens there. But yeah, just a really great move on Dee's part. I think that she recognized that, like, yes, Jake going obviously needs to happen, but it doesn't need to happen yet. Kendra needs to go. Kendra's the one throwing out her name. Kendra's the wild card. Like, that's exactly what you need to do. You need to go for the person that's actively coming for you, not actively coming for your alliance. And that's the difference between, say, a D than, say, a Julie. And it's because of the power that D has within this game, the way she set herself up. I still think, aside from, I still think her best move is what she did pre-jury with writing down Sifu's name and letting Jay take the heat for it. But this was just another great move from D. And to me is just further evidence that I think she could very well be winning this game. Like, I know other people are trying to say like, oh, she's going to be the person that we think wins and then she doesn't. But I really do feel like D is winning this game. And it's moments like this that really kind of showcase that. But we'll have to see what happens. And now we wait for Allie to come back. Oh,
Yay.
You're back.
Yay. We don't love streamer being mean to me.
No, we don't. But I was just talking about how, again, I think Julie just doesn't have that much of a shot of winning. I think, unfortunately, she's not been able to get her way. She doesn't really have a game separate from Drew, Austin, and D. Those three do have a game separate from each other, and I think that is ultimately what's going to hurt her if she's at the end.
Oh, definitely.
So, I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but right now, like, that's kind of how I see it. But yeah, you can continue.
All right. Okay. So Kendra talks to Bruce, and if they're still on Jake, and he seems it's to be so far so good. Kendra says the plan is still Jake as far as she knows, but it seems easier than it should be. And she's having a hard time with that because last night seemed easier than it should be, and she got blindsided.
Yep.
So she talks to Emily later, who reassures her that it will be Jake. And Emily goes to Drew and tells him this, but she says he thought everyone was doing Kendra, and she isn't sure why, because she's a vote for them. So
This
she
is
asks,
so good on Drew's part, the way he did this, like, so nonchalantly, just being like, wait, I thought everyone was doing Kendra. What do you mean? Like, this is how you do it. Like, you
"Oh, it's
don't
so
just,
good."
like, throw it out. Like, he didn't even need to throw it out. All he needed to do was just be like, wait, no, that's not what I heard. And then suddenly now Kendra is the consensus, all because Drew said this to Emily. Like, again, just really great work on his part.
So good. So she asks him who he talked to about it with, and he says D and Austin, and she tells him she thinks Jake is more loyal to Bruce than Kendra is.
Right. Which, I mean, he is.
True.
Which is why it's so weird that Bruce just wants to, like, clip him.
I know. So Emily says old Reba now is potentially throwing out Kendra's name as somebody they think they can't trust. And she hates hearing it because while she is a wild card, there are so many people that are bigger threats, less likely to work with her in this game. Jake doesn't have a shot in the dark. They all try to send him home earlier, and it's easy in and out. She feels totally powerless because she has no vote to offer, which is scary in a game of Survivor because she always wants to be the one making decisions.
And again, I feel bad for Emily here because she honestly could have pulled something off
Yeah.
to get Jake out. I do think if Katurah has her vote as well, they could have gotten Jake out. But again, because they don't have their votes, they can't really do much.
Nope. There would
You kind of have to be like, all right, go ahead. Like, I can't do anything.
Yeah, literally, Katurah and Emily are just completely useless.
Yeah.
So Drew says he's in a
Like,
bit
have
of
them honestly, like, if they're going to have, like, zero agency, like, just put them on, like, exile or something. Like, they have no reason to be here.
yeah. So Drew says he's in a bit of a compromise situation because he has his alliance with Emily, who wants Jake out of here. He can change it to Jake because he's erotic and a sunken ship that no one wants to work with. He knows Austin would be willing to do it, and Julie would be happy with it. So he pitches it to the Reba 4, and Dee does not seem down for it.
Which again, I love that Dee doesn't budge here. Like, she's still very adamant about Kendra going. It's so good the way she does that. She could have easily buckled and just been like, okay, fine, we'll go for Jake. But again, that does not benefit Dee. It benefits her to take out Kendra, and this is why she's such a good player.
Oh yeah, she's such a leader here. She's so direct. She's like, nope.
Yeah.
She's like, we're doing this. That's it.
Yeah, it's the perfect way of, like, still being an alliance, but also, like, looking out for yourself. That's exactly what she's doing.
Yes. So Dee says she already knows everyone wants Jake out, which seems like an easy vote, but she doesn't want that. She wants to do what's best for her game, and right now she wants Kendra out, and that's who she's going to push for. She knows the four of them have to work together, so right now they have to make sure they're good and on the same page. But in this game, whoever throws out her name, she will come for them hard. Yes.
Yeah. So we get to the tribal here, and I will say, despite two people not having their vote, still a really good tribal. Like, this season is
it's
really
a good tribal.
This season is just continuing to deliver in terms of tribals. I feel like all the tribals this season have just been top tier, and this is another example of that. So we get to tribal council. Kendra says hi, Dad, to Jeff, which I thought was funny.
That was hilarious.
Dee tells him it feels like he's just going to ask them how they're feeling, which she says they're not feeling too great. Jeff says that he's seen every single tribal council and he's seen some amazing blindsides, but he's pretty sure last tribal's blindside with Kelly will go down on a lot of lists as one of the most devastating and surprising. I mean, I would agree. I'm still in shock that Kelly went.
So good.
So he tells Kendra she was visibly upset, which she says it's something she did not expect coming into this game. She's an emotional person and wears her heart on her sleeve, but it's a game. Kelly was her first friend there, and it was so much harder than she ever expected it to feel. He then asks Dee if there was also the feeling that the game is on, that it could be her next time. And she says that they come into this game and everyone wants to make a big move and everyone wants to do blindsides and they're watching it on TV and it's super cool. But when they're out there, they're not robots. They're playing with humans and their feelings. It's a lot tougher than what we see on TV. And she doesn't think anyone will ever understand that unless they're playing Survivor. And she's right. I mean, we're never going to understand it because we're not in that environment. So he then asked Jake about his feeling when he saw his name come up, and then he saw Kelly's name, which he says he was prepared to see his name, so he already mentally steeled himself to see it, but he was floored when he saw Kelly's name come up. There was relief. That's not a spot that they want to be in since he's obviously at the bottom. Jeff then asks about him if a blindside of that magnitude shifts the game, so because like it's an earthquake and now the earth is not the same out there, which Jake says he's hoping it did shift the game because he's trying to catch up as fast as he can since he made a lot of mistakes. But fortunately, he didn't get voted out, so he does have the opportunity to correct those mistakes and hopefully make it beyond this tribal right there tonight. So Jeff then talks about the 3-stage challenge that they were in, but once again, they have another battle between Bruce and Julie, who are two of the older players in the game and have dominated the last 2 challenges. He then says to Julie that he realizes it would feel better if she had won, but it was very competitive again, and she says she hopes she made her kids feel proud, which is her number one, but other than that, she forgets she's not one of the youngins, so she's saying she's doing great being the oldest, and she says it would be better if she'd beaten him, so... Jeff then asks the same thing to Bruce and says back-to-back wins in any season for any player is a big deal, which Bruce says it's not a good thing, but it's a big deal. Jeff then asks him to solve that dilemma by taking the necklace off and putting it on someone else and burning them with it, which Bruce asks why he's speaking blasphemy right now. Bruce then says he can say that because it's one of those things, like he wants to be able to protect himself in the game. Immunity's huge, but it paints a big target on his back. He wants to hear them cheering for him, but people are going to be saying otherwise. So Jeff talks to Drew about how this is a very tricky thing, such as when they win, they're safe, but they show everybody else that they can win. Drew agrees with and says to Bruce's credit, people don't see the 2 immunity wins, where they see the hours of hard work and practice and training that is both physical and mental. But with the necklace, it's like a sort of Damocles situation where there's a reminder that everyone eventually there will be a moment where they don't have the necklace, and all those wins will build up into a bigger and bigger target. So Jeff then says there was one more twist today. Again, has to remind us of the first group of 3 that finished last, lost their vote, had to go on a jury to try to end back their vote. Kaleb and Kelly are like not happy about this at all, by the way. Like
I know, their reactions were so funny. Oh my god.
Yeah, they were not happy about this twist. I very much was not either.
They're like, are you serious? Come on.
Yeah. So Drew says typically when they go into a tribal council, they know how many votes they're going to be, but this twist adds a complication where suddenly it's not clear if they are all voting from 6, 7, 8, or 9 people, which is really scary because it throws off any possible voting calculation from a strategic standpoint, and they have to then default instead to their relationships with those people in hopes they're being honest. And again, this is why it's boring. This is why it's not exciting at all. There's no fluidity that can happen that way. So Jeff then asks Kendra what her reaction is. She asks if they really lost their votes, which Drew says that's just the strategic implication, which Kendra says she didn't even think about the fact somebody could be lying. She says she ate her first chicken today for the first time in 15 years, so her mind's working a little differently, and it just got a little bit of meat sweats today. So, and again, I mean, I think this is like definitely one of the biggest issues is that she doesn't even think that somebody could have lost their vote until now, which we know that Austin's lying through his teeth about that. Yep. So Jeff then tells Dee that the missing votes are going to play a big part tonight, which she says they're at a point in the game where things cross their mind and they don't know if it's paranoia, but they don't know if it's the truth. As players, she feels like they're evolving like as a Pokemon. We evolve into Charizard, but she feels that that's what the new era is. Like an evolution with 3 less votes, players are more strategic, and their thing a bit more evilish. So Jeff then asks Kendra if it helps or hurts her game tonight with 3 votes gone. She says it's really hard to say because the curtains are wide open and the show is on and they're moving on to Act 2. So she's really unsure if she was included on these bigger picture conversations that could be happening. And Jeff then asks Jake if the potential loss of 3 votes help or hurt him. He thinks it helps him more than hurts him, but the game is changing and he's behind. So he just needs to catch up and he needs some friends out there. He's trying to build relationships with different people and let them know he's a free agent out there so they can use him and he's looking for a home. So we get to the vote and surprise, surprise, it ends up being very straightforward with a vote of 6-1 with Kendra being eliminated and is the 3rd member of the jury. And So we get to her retrospective. She says that she just got blindsided. She's just bummed at herself for not following her gut, even though she's a gut player. Clearly, the stars weren't aligned, and she doesn't even care that she's starting. She doesn't even care that it's raining. She loves feeling alive and free and having an adventure. So this is the greatest adventure she's ever had, and she's so grateful for the opportunity. And yeah, I mean, I think that Kendra played the game that she, I think the fact that she made it as far as she did, to me was very surprising. I was expecting Kendra to go a lot sooner than she did. And the fact that she didn't, I think, is definitely something I am impressed by. But again, she never struck me as a front runner. I always knew she was probably going to go when she did. It really was just a matter of when she did end up going. So I'm not too surprised that she ends up going out here. I wish I had more to say about Kendra, but again, she just never she definitely had moments that I thought were really great. Like the moment with her talking about her dad in episode 8, I thought was like really great to see. Um, her throwing out D in the way that she did was really good, but she just was never able to like get the numbers. She never was able to be in that position that she needed to be. She never was really able to do much of anything. And this is why the whole losing your vote thing sucks, because I think she could have. I think she could have pulled something off if, again, Emily and Katurah were available to vote. I think this really could have worked out for her, but unfortunately, that was not the case. But anything you want to say about Kendra before we move on to the next episode?
I mean, obviously it sucks that it was just such a straightforward vote, like just 6-1, so boring. But
Yeah.
I mean, D did that. I love Kendra. Like I honestly really like Kendra. I really enjoyed her
Yeah.
because obviously preseason I was like, I feel like she's not going to make it that far. But she
Yeah,
was also
she got a
like,
lot farther than I thought she would.
yeah, like she was always like a big question mark for me, like during the season of where she was
Mhm.
going to make it. But she was honestly very entertaining. She's very direct.
Yeah.
Um, but I honestly really enjoyed her. I mean, she still made it pretty far. She's in jury, so I'm just proud of her at least. And yeah, I liked her a lot. Like honestly, like she did way better than I expected. And also, we do not stand StreamYard tonight.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on, but yeah, like I said, I really do wish her vote was more exciting. I wish that we had 2 people that were able to vote in the way that they did. But she does end up going out here. I'm fine with Kendra going. I don't think that she was she ended up being someone that I did think played better than I thought she would. I thought she did a little bit more than I thought she would. Um, it just sucks that, again, we weren't really able to see her true potential because of the fact that she wasn't really able to do much on this vote. She was kind of fucked from the start with Emily and Katurah not being able to vote when they were
Yeah.
probably going to vote Jake this round. So,
Mhm.
yeah, this could have been so much more exciting. But unfortunately, with the loss of 2 votes, there's not really a ton to talk about. But yeah, that's the end of episode 9. Let's get to the episode that we actually do have a lot to say about. Episode 10
Did
is
you read? Wait,
easily one of the best
did you read?
episodes.
Did you read? Did you read her a retrospective?
I did. You were here when I read it.
Okay. Oh wait, yes.
Yeah, but no, episode 10 easily is one of the best episodes of this season so far. It's
Oh,
like
it's
the
so
perfect
good.
example of what the show can be when everyone can vote, and it's way more exciting because of that. And shows that we don't need all these like crazy twists to make a great episode. We just need really great characters and really great gameplay, and that's exactly what we have here. So yeah, with that said, Allie, get into the beginning of episode 10.
All right. So post tribal, after Kendra's elimination, everyone is talking about how she had no clue she was going and congratulate each other on making top 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jake says tonight he's still alive. He's played a dead dog for the last 2 outs, and he doesn't have to do that anymore as he's got friends in this game and people who want to look out for him and thinks he's back in the game as a player and not a pawn.
Yep.
And Drew says Jake is like Charlie Brown, where there's a rain cloud falling over the top of him, and miraculously, people are just aiming at other targets. But on the other hand, Bruce continues to be in a very interesting spot in the game where he has power and the idol. The problem is Bruce winning all these challenges shreds any possibility of flushing his idol, so his immunity run needs to come to a clean, swift end ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, Drew is right about that. Bruce, winning all these challenges, it keeps hurting them because they all want to
Yeah.
go for Bruce and it's not working out. So,
Oh gosh, it's crazy. So Drew talks to Emily saying they need to get rid of Bruce's idol this round, and he's pretty much guaranteed to play at the next tribal unless he wins immunity.
which, that's what we think is going to happen, but we'll get into that.
So the next day, the Reba Four talks about how they're in such a small group at this point and how they're all going to have to lean on each other at this point.
Yep.
Julie says she did not sleep last night and just couldn't because she is connecting with people and they're trusting her, and she's lying to their face. With both Kelly and Kendra, she was devastated. They just wouldn't even look at her. It felt so personal, and the feeling of betrayal is hard for her because she's used to being loyal and trustworthy and someone they can count on no matter what. She didn't understand how powerful her role would be at that she agreed to, and that they put her in this as this mama trusting character would make it hurt that much. And they're all getting close to the end, and it's getting harder than she, even though it's a true emotional contest for all of them, and she has loved her alliance of four with Drew, Austin, Dee, and herself, but at some point they will have to turn on each other, and she can't even go there because how does she even vote them out and they still love her?
Yeah, and I mean, this is a really good moment from Julie, kind of her reconciling with the fact that, like, yeah, the way I play is different from, like, the way I am as a person. I don't want to lie. I don't want to backstab people. And this is yet another reason why I don't think Julie can win this game, because she doesn't want to make these power moves, and that's going to hurt her in the end. Like,
Mhm.
if there's a move that, like, needs to be made and she doesn't want to do it, like, I think that's the end of her game at that point. Like, this was a really good moment for her, but once again, I think it's just another example why I don't think Julie's winning this game.
Yeah, I think she has like the smallest chance. Her and Jake.
Yeah. I'm talking, well, of the Reba Four, for sure, she has the smallest chance.
Oh yeah.
The other three just have a lot more momentum.
It's like Drew and Dee for sure. Austin kind of, and then Julie at the bottom there.
Yeah. I mean, if Austin holds on to his idol, like, until the end, that's very impressive. Both
That's
idols.
very impressive. Like just pull up Marianne. So she talks to Drew about this, who comforts her, and she talks about how hard of a time she has lying to people and knowing there are two people in the jury that likely are telling others not to trust her at all. Drew says that there is a chance things can get hairy, and the four of them are people he really does care about deeply, and he just wants to know that they're all going to be okay and are good no matter what.
Yep.
Emma,
Yeah, I mean, great
Emma,
moment from Drew.
Emma.
I like seeing him comforting Julie and things like that. I thought there's a
Too.
lot of really good, like, just raw, like, emotional, like, human moments in this episode, and this was a good.
Oh
And
yeah,
this is why, like, and I know I sound like a broken record at this point because I've been saying it all season, but, like, this is why we need the 90-minute episodes, because moments
yes.
like this we don't get to see enough of. We don't get to see
Yeah.
enough moments of people just
Literally, if it was
human. And
if they didn't have the 90-minute episodes, it'd be very half-assed.
well, it's not half-assed. I wouldn't say the word half-assed, because that implies that the other
Oh,
seasons that have not had 90 minutes
I mean,
have been
yeah.
half-assed, which they have not been. It just feels more it just feels like we have a lot more context. It just feels like we have a lot more understanding of what's going on. And even taking game out of the question, how often do we get to see moments of just people feeling upset over how a vote went, or just feeling human? Do these moments of them just kind of contemplating the fact that, yeah, I have to lie to people. I had to make all these moves. It's really getting to me. Like, we don't get to see enough of that. And I really like that we got to see that in this episode. It makes them feel that much more three-dimensional and not just like, cogs in the system. Like, I feel like too often in Survivor seasons, it's like, okay, we know these people from a surface level, but do we really know them? This season, I feel like we really do know them, because they're giving us more layers every episode.
Yeah, definitely. Like we just like get to know their games even more and just know their stories, and it's just like way more personal and and effective.
Yeah.
So
And you
I
feel that much more connected to these
also
people
I
as a
said
result.
also I almost said Emma instead of Emily. So yes, her name is Emma now apparently.
Okay.
Emily, Katurah, and Bruce talk about how powerful the Reba Four are and how they are all picking up people. And Bruce asks who is making decisions for those four. And Katurah asks if Dee is the one that says, here's the vote. And then they all go for it. And then Emily says right now there are still 4 people who are in the majority alliance that come in from the merge. And part of her thinks they are not going to turn on each other, which scares her. She hopes that Drew, Austin, and herself are working together, but she's now re-questioning her alliance and figure out where people are standing and forging new relationships.
And this is a big episode for Emily. Like, if you want to talk about how much Emily has improved as a game player, look no further than this episode. She absolutely kills it.
Oh, she did amazing in this episode.
Yeah.
So Katurah tells Bruce and Emily if they want to make something happen for the other side, they're gonna all have to get together. Bruce tells them he's on the chopping block for the next time they go just because of his idol.
Mm-hmm.
Which is true.
Everybody and I mean, the 3 of them working together, like, could have been really great for Emily, but we'll get into what happened.
Mm-hmm. Emily says if she were to make a big move against the strong Reba Four, she needs support. And what's extremely frustrating about working with Jake, Bruce, and Katurah is they don't know how to work together at all. True.
Yeah. They're very dysfunctional.
I know. They have like such different minds, such different mindsets. Watch them all be like besties outside the game, though.
It's more so Bruce and Katurah, I think, that are the problem. Like, Jake is definitely like making an effort, but like Bruce and Katurah like are just never gonna work together, and that's really the problem.
Literally, they're like Xander and Leanna. Like, they're probably gonna be friends outside the game.
Well, that's a very different dynamic than Xander and Liana, but yes.
I mean, yeah, just like in the like game rivalry sense.
Yeah. I don't think Bruce is gonna have a crush on Katurah anytime soon, but yes.
No. I mean, no, he's literally, isn't he married?
Yes.
So on top of it, Bruce doesn't seem interested at all in playing his idol strategically. He's only interested in protecting his own butt, but with his idol, and he's not realizing he actually has an opportunity to flip the power dynamic while there's still 4 and 4 on his tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Katurah and Bruce go off together, and she tells them she's very happy they're back working together and on the same page. And he says that's the worst thing that he could ever do in Survivor. He did, which is be afraid of the knowledge of power and give Kelly his idol. And she is shocked and says he didn't, and realizes this is a lie he is using in an effort to protect himself.
Yeah, let's talk about this for a second, because this was very unexpected that he just kind of like concocts this lie to where he doesn't have the idol anymore and things like that. What did you think of this like initial move?
I mean, it would be a good move on his part if they actually believed it, because like technically only Jake believes it.
Well, we'll get into why that happens. I don't blame Bruce for why people aren't believing it at all, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think that's his fault. I do think this is my opinion of it. I do think this is a good move on paper. He did it 1 round too late. Like, if he did this last round, this would have been far more effective. But now, like, he knows he's at the bottom. He knows he needs to come up with something. Like, I think doing it now is what hurt him. Like, if he had done it the round Kelly went out, that could have worked out. Unfortunately, now I just think it was a little too late.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if it was last round or the round before, sure, but not this one.
Yeah.
This one was just like, ooh, kind of fucked you.
I appreciate the messiness, though.
Oh, yeah. It was very entertaining to watch. So he asks what she thinks about his acting because he still has it. And she asks why he's telling her this. And he says he's saying to her because he wanted to see how she felt about his acting. When he did that, and she says she believed him, and he tells her this is their hook to get one of the Revas out of here. So Katurah feels this plan is ridiculous, which is honestly pretty funny.
Yeah.
She didn't believe him for a second, but also doesn't believe much of what he says to her. But it doesn't matter because this won't work. Everyone knows.
I mean, she's lying to herself. She literally did believe him at first. So she can say she didn't believe for a second, but she literally did believe him.
Oh, yeah, literally. Katurah and Bruce did not play perfect games.
No, Katurah in this episode was very disappointing. That is all I will say.
Yeah. Everyone knows he has an idol and no one will believe this. Bruce tests this on Jake and it seems to be working.
Yep.
So Bruce knows the Sly will get out and Jake will spill the beans to Reba because Jake does not have the ability to play this game in a way to keep his mouth shut. And he needs them to think he's vulnerable because now the 4 Rebas will all vote for him and then he plays the idol and they will kiss their backside goodbye.
Yeah, and I thought this was really smart. Like when you know you have someone like Jake who's just gonna leak stuff, it's like
Yep.
why not just come up with something fake that he can then leak to them? Like I think this could have been a really great move for Bruce, but unfortunately it doesn't quite work out. And I don't necessarily blame Bruce for why this doesn't work out. We'll get into why it doesn't work out. I
Yeah.
do think ultimately he did this a little too late, but I don't blame him for why this didn't work. So, all right. With that said, though, let's get to the reward challenge, which was easily a sign that this was going to be a great episode. Once we got to this
So
reward
good.
challenge, I thought this was just such an amazing moment.
It was amazing. It was just a
so
very
for this challenge, you're going to race through.
It was a very like effective and like just amazing moment to watch.
Yeah. Well, I haven't talked about what happened yet, but yeah. So for this challenge, you're going to race through a series of obstacles, collecting a ball around the way. They will then crawl under a net and ultimately maneuver that ball through a maze. The first person to finish wins a reward where they will leave here and be taken to the sanctuary. And normally when they do this, it was like pizza and like a cake and stuff like that. But they really like stepped it up this season because now it is turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, and apple pie, along with beer, soda, and juice. So they basically have a whole fucking feast of food.
Yep.
So they're now going to be spending the night there where they will have pillows and blankets. And it's a very close race between many of the remaining 8 castaways, but ultimately Emily is able to successfully finish first and has won the reward. And just such an amazing moment for Emily. Someone who immediately started off the game in like what seemed like such an unwinnable spot where she was going to be the first boot and she was going to end up going. It seemed like she was going to be the most like obvious first boot we've seen in a while. And the fact that not only she's lasted this long, but has like but literally just won like one of the biggest reward of the entire season and like gets to determine what happens. Like, my God, just talk about a comeback. Like this is the perfect example of that. Emily just really killed us.
It kind of gives vibes of like Noelle's reward win.
I thought that too, actually.
Just because of how like effective and amazing it was to watch.
I kind of felt that comparison as well. So Jeff then mentions how her body started to shake as she won. She says it's very surreal because she didn't expect to win anything coming here. But coming into today's challenge, they all talked about how they figured it was a reward challenge and that they all would take her to the sanctuary as she hadn't been there yet. And while she appreciates it, it makes her feel bad because she wants to earn it and she's happy that she will be going there all on her own. And again, just a really great moment. Like the fact that she thought that she wasn't going to make it and then she gets to do it all on her own. Just really great. So she then is told that she's also going to be receiving letters from home and then gets to select 2 people to go with her. So she then picks Julie, who talks about how rough this morning was and missing home, and she hopes that this gives her the strength. She then also picks Katurah, who is legitimately shocked as she was the one that expected to get it the least, and she was just bracing herself to not get it. I love the moment where like Katurah was literally like in tears, thinking she wasn't going to get it, and then she did. And oh my God, Ali froze again. What the hell is going on with StreamYard? Yeah, I mean, just a really, really great moment overall. But then we see, of course, Jeff then sees Drew crying. He asks him what's going on. Drew says that it's a hard choice because he knows everyone wants the food and the comfort from home. He doesn't have anything more to say because it's a really tough spot to be in. And you see Drew, he's like near tears here. He, knows he's probably, he's not sure what's going to happen. And again, like these are the moments in Survivor that I enjoy watching the most, aside from like the gameplay, just seeing people just be very emotional and just how the raw emotions and things like that. It just really heightens it just, again, gets you to care about these people more and makes them feel more 3-dimensional. That's what I like about it. So Emily has one more spot and then decides to pick D, knowing how much she talked about her family every single day and wants to make it a ladies' night, which this was such a good move for Emily. She has very much been with Austin and Drew. She knows that it's not really working out for her anymore. This is like her perfect way. This is like the perfect way to like forge new bonds and make new alliances. And I think this was a really great move that she picked all the women here. So Austin says that this reward is the most significant you can get, as letters from home will bring anyone together. So he's a little nervous about a girls' night, but he just has to hope everything he built is enough to carry over one amazing night at the sanctuary. So yeah, just a great win for Emily all around. Was very happy with her getting this. And the rest of this episode, I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. Everything we get at the end here, I just really loved a lot. But with that said, Allie, who once again had to deal with the monster that is StreamYard tonight. StreamYard just really does not want us to do this podcast. But with that said, Allie, let's talk a little bit about what happens at the sanctuary.
All right. The girls head on over and are excited to see this setup. Julie says for Emily to win is one of the greatest moments of the season as she brought herself to the sanctuary. This is probably the greatest reward as it turns out she picked all the women on the tribe. So the men are out having their boys' night and they can have a girls' night, which honestly...
And we'll talk about the boys' night a little bit because that was another highlight of this episode for sure.
Oh, so good. Like, I just love this so much.
Yeah.
So Emily says when she won the challenge, knew it was going to be an overnight. She knew she was taking her girls, which we love.
Oh, yeah.
They all sit down.
Yeah, anyone who says that Emily is, like, not a girl's girl, you watch this episode and tell me that.
Not the girls.
Well, I've seen that going around Twitter. Like, everyone keeps saying, oh, like, when the Girls Alliance happened, that was formed in, like, the Kelly vote, which apparently, like, was not a thing. Like, Kelly literally said that wasn't even, like, a big deal. That was, like, a very small conversation they had. Nobody was really, like, serious about it, but the show made, like, a much bigger deal out of it. A lot of people on Twitter were saying, like, why is Emily doing this? Emily doesn't like women. Emily wants to, get all the women out. No, this should say differently.
Yeah, definitely. So she's very much not a meninist.
No.
So they all sit down and eat, and Katurah talks about how she feels in her little time of knowing Emily, that she underestimates herself a lot, and Dee says she hopes she sees in her what they see, and Emily says she sees it now and thanks them.
Yeah, I love this moment. This was just really great seeing them like hype her up, and especially after again like the arc that Emily's had throughout the season. Like this was just really great.
Oh yeah, it was so good, and it was great. It was just such a great moment.
Oh yeah.
So Emily says she never thought she'd win any sort of challenge, nonetheless a reward challenge of this size, and she's so proud of the fact she's sitting right here knowing what she's been through, and it's just a little piece of paradise, and what has otherwise been kind of this like hellscape playing Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
So Emily tells them she will be having a female winner on the season, and Katurah says she is calling it, and they then discuss the challenges and how Julie has been close every time. And Katurah says they just need to get Bruce out, and Dee brings up his idol. And Katurah then brings up...
And we get to the thing that pissed me off probably the most in this episode.
True. And then Katurah brings up the lie he is telling everybody, and Dee says it's a little too late to make that a comment as he should have said it the day of.
Yeah, so Katurah like basically ruined any chance of this actually working. And listen, I understand Katurah has had this beef with Bruce the entire season and things like that, but this was like the one time she needed to just kind of let him do this because it really could have worked out. They could have made a power move. They could have gotten one of the Reba 4 out. But instead, she basically just ruined any chance of him staying. Like, this was a really, really bad move from Katurah, in my opinion. Like, I don't blame Bruce for this not working out. I absolutely blame Katurah for exposing the lie.
Oh, yeah. It was not good for her game at all.
No.
So,
because, like, regardless of the fact that her and Bruce have not been on the same page, they needed to get on the same page, and they didn't. And now Katurah is in a worse spot.
So Katurah says she told the girls because she has no loyalty to Bruce. He was a terrible alliance member, so she is now in revenge mode.
Which I love the pettiness, but not with this. Like, this is the one time she needed to just let him do it, like just go along with the lie, and instead she didn't.
Yeah, it was not good for her at all.
No.
So Emily says they will be fueled by this Thanksgiving meal to show up to the challenge tomorrow, crush it, and flush Bruce's idol, and get him out next time. And Dee agrees, and that they should vote Jake out if he wins. Katurah asks if they're okay putting more votes on Bruce in case he plays it, and they say yes. And Katurah says that would be even more delicious.
Which, again, why do you want Bruce out? Like, you need Bruce.
The Bellows shouldn't have let Rivas take over.
No, the Kelly vote, there wasn't much they could have done. Kendra vote, there wasn't much they could have done.
Yeah.
Even with the Kaleb vote,
So Katurah says she can't wait to get Bruce out, but he will be playing his idol, so having Jake as their backup vote is very safe as he's alone and has no real allies right now.
Yeah.
So they then read their letters from home, and all get very emotional through doing so.
Yeah, and the letters from home segment, I always enjoy watching, but I feel like they went a lot more in depth with it this time than they usually do, and it made it that much more effective.
Oh, I know. I was just like, all of them were so emotional. So Emily gets emotional thinking about how at this time her boyfriend Eric is moving into her house, which is their first house together, and she is missing out on experiencing it. She talks a bit how she doesn't want to get married and doesn't want to be a wife, and now she's out here and can't imagine herself not spending the rest of her life with him. Through playing the game and getting stripped of everything else, it makes her realize what's important. All these notions she has forced on herself to be a certain way. She can just be Emily, and maybe Emily will get married one day.
Yeah, this really got to me because it kind of made me think like of us, like when we get like if we ever get like our first like house together and things like that, and kind of just like like how amazing that moment will be and things like that, and especially knowing that like she's not there to witness it is like insane. Like that's crazy to think about, and it's like I'm sure like this experience, makes their relationship like that much stronger. Like once they come back together, like this was such a like pure and just very tender moment. I really, really love this a lot.
Oh, I did too. It was just very wholesome and it was just like so sweet to watch.
And another thing I don't think we would have gotten if this was not a 90-minute episode.
Yep, for sure. So Katurah talks about a letter from her mom, who she cut off contact with a year ago, and yet she still wrote back how important she was to her, and she didn't expect it at all, and doesn't know how to feel about it. Julie goes to her and says she's a warrior, and she's so proud of her and supports her 100%. That was a very
again beautiful moment from Katurah. Yeah. But switching gears entirely, we go to the boys' night segment here, which was another highlight of the episode in a different way than the girls was.
This boys' night is so unserious.
Yeah, this is great. So they're all planning to have a camping trip tonight. They bond. So while the girls are all like, bonding over letters from home and food, the guys are doing something a little different. They're bonding about how much they've been holding in farts. And Jake is relieved that he can do so for the first time in 18 days. He lets one out. So that happens. And then something very unorthodox happens in Survivor. We get this humorous montage of them just all being guys with a little more flatulence and burping. And it's nice to see the guys sometimes that they haven't gotten to do so in 18 days. It's just the boys. They all are doing various activities, such as discuss the right kind of bacon. And the weirdest part of all of this is that it's all scored to playing with the boys from like Top Gun. I did not think Survivor played like actual like songs and episodes, but we get to see it here. And this was just a really fun moment. Like the first time I saw this clip, I thought someone edited the song in. No, it's literally like on the actual episode. I thought this was this was so great. Like this was such a funny moment. I enjoyed this so much.
Oh, I loved it so much. It was so funny and it was just hilarious and it was just like so unserious, so funny.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Yeah, so Drew talks about how he's never really been one of the boys and truly broed out. He's only noticed it from an anthropological distance, and he talks about how they discuss food a lot in action movies and the stuff that girls don't want to talk about, which, I mean, girls like action movies. What do you mean? Like, there's
Yeah, what's wrong with action movies?
But he's doing his best, but it was fun, and he's got to try new things on Survivor, so he'll try the bro out. I felt for Drew here. I'm very much not familiar with the bro out either, so like I get it. So Austin then goes spear. Like I was very much like, wanting to be one of the bros, but not,
Yeah,
um,
Drew's just like such like the nerdy type.
yeah, like I definitely like I definitely was like on Drew's wavelength here because it's like, oh, this is not something I'm like familiar with. Like, let me try to like adapt. And I thought this is just really funny.
That was
So
so good.
Austin then goes spearfishing, but he's only able to find really tiny ones. Eventually is able to make his first big catch, is excited to have them all to have their first big feast, as they all know the women will be feasting. So they have to eat something substantial so that they can keep up with the ladies when they get back. And Bruce then talks to Jake about how, since they have the preemptive strike to talk about it, now if he were to vote someone, it would be D, to separate all the Reba shit going on. And this is why Katurah exposing his lie is so disappointing.
Yep.
Because he's trying to find a way to save his own ass since he doesn't have his idol. He's trying to put all his chips on the table. Jake asks how they do it and asks how tight he is with Julie. And Bruce says that he's very tight with her, but he's got to find out where his mind is. And he knows he's not too keen on going after D. And Jake says that while D is a huge threat in this game, it's not happening. As much as he loves Bruce, he needs to unhitch his wagon to him, as they've been connected this whole time. And if he's attached to him, people will see him as a pair and become a bigger target. He says people only find Bruce dangerous because he has an idol, but if he gave it to Kelly, there's a good chance it's no longer there, and that puts Bruce in a very dangerous place. So he doesn't want Bruce's threat level going down. He wants it going up. So he's telling Drew, who he has a working relationship with, and he thinks he's valuable to him. So really seems like, Jake wants to, do something about this. So he lets Drew know that Bruce is pushing D. He says all that matters that the idol goes. It doesn't matter who goes out. And Jake tells him that Bruce's lie and how he may not have an idol anymore. And Drew is shocked and says it's like there's two headlights on Bruce and he's on America's Most Wanted. So Drew talks about how Jake is like a puppy dog at this point for himself and Austin. Jake, who hasn't had a clue in days, suddenly comes to him with pressing information, and immediately he is overjoyed. And again, this is an example of like how effective Jake has become in this game. Like, he is very much people are scooping him up. He is giving them information. He's not giving them nothing. Like, he actually is showing that, like, I can be valuable to your game. And I think this was a really great moment for Jake. It seemed like this would actually, really benefit him. So Drew then tells Austin what Jake just relayed to him. They're both very excited. Drew says that things are looking sweet as the chopping block is Bruce and Jake is desperate. Both of them are essentially drawing dead in the game. So the women then end up coming back and they greet everyone else. And Emily talks to Drew about how no one in that four wants to come for him or Austin, especially not before Jake or Bruce. Drew then talks about how Bruce doesn't have the idol anymore. And again, this is where we realize just how much Katurah fucked up, because Emily immediately starts spreading the fact that, oh, that's actually a lie. That's not something to worry about. Because he told Katurah he was going to say that to try to convince people that he didn't have his idol. And he says, ideally, Bruce and Jake need to not win immunity, but if Bruce does, they just take out Jake, and she agrees. So again, we take what could have been like a lot more, like this big move for Bruce, and could have really been a big power shift. And instead, it's basically just going to be Bruce going. So, and I honestly blame Katurah for that. Like, I absolutely do, because she could have just not said anything. So Emily says everyone has been lying to Jake, and she's been doing her best to be honest with him, because if he's in the jury, she wants him to know he talked to her like a human and not just a chess piece. And this was a great edit, because we think Emily is sincere here when she's talking about this at first, because she tells him that if Bruce plays his idol, they're trying to turn it on to him, and he asks if she's talking about Drew. She says everybody, and he asks her if Drew's trying to turn it on to him. Why don't they just put their votes onto him? And she says she's in a decent spot in this game, and if she does that, it blows up her spot by a lot. So Jake says he's sick of being the backup target and is a little pissed at Drew, who has been feeding him M&Ms and stringing him along, so he doesn't care if he's the vote. So he talks to Julie about doing also, Drew, who...
I will say that Jake and Drew, many arguments and stuff is
we'll talk about that,
or the back and forth is honestly so good. Like, that's another rivalry that's I wish it was more of a thing.
Oh yeah, very good. So he talks to Julie about doing Drew, who shuts it down. She runs it back to Drew, who isn't nervous but is and again, this is Julie's issue. Like, she could have honestly kept this to herself, and it honestly might have worked out for her, but She runs back to him. He isn't nervous, but is pretty pissed with him knowing he was supposed to be the vote and then Kendra or Kelly. And so for him to throw his name out there is a slap in the face. He confronts him on it, asking why him and Jake, and Jake asks him if he doesn't care if he catches a stray bullet, but he has to clear it if he does. And Drew asks him why him and Jake and says, why not? And Drew says he doesn't have any allies and he's the only person who's been batting for him. And Jake says Drew is mad because he said his name. He wants to feel like he kept him in this game, but there's other people looking out for him and he isn't a gift from God. And Jake then asks him if it sucks hearing his name. Drew says yes. And he asks who he talked to. And when he doesn't, he responds, he says their conversation is done. And Drew calls him a mobster. And Jake asks him if he can be at the bottom and asks him what he wants to say to him. Drew says he's a goon and his game is donezo. Drew just keeps like getting into fights with like the most unexpected people. Like he got into a fight with Brando. Now he's getting into a fight with like Jake. Like it's very entertaining to watch. I would have never.
Yeah, this is so entertaining, and I love Drew, but he's gotten so cocky because he's like.
I would have never expected for him to be this like villain of sorts, but I mean, if we pick a villain of the season, I think it has to be Drew. Just with how messy he's been, how much he well, not necessarily messy, but like just how cutthroat he's been, how much he's orchestrated, like so many people, so many of the so many contestants' demise and things like that, and then this fight with Jake.
Like he's someone who has a good shot to win, but I could also see people being like, he had bad jury management.
I don't know, honestly. I think he's gone a little too far sometimes, and I think this is a good example of that. Still love the fight, but I don't know about Drew's win equity with moments like this. I don't think he needed to. I don't think he needed to be so upfront with Jake. I think he could have kept this to himself until like it was time to vote, and he didn't. And
this gives,
but still very fun to watch.
Oh yeah, this definitely gives the 0 vote finalist vibes.
I could very well see that. I don't even know if he's going to make it at this point, but we'll see.
We'll see.
But with that said, talk about the immunity challenge.
So getting into the immunity challenge, for this challenge, they will lie on a steep ramp suspended over water. They will lie there using large handholds at regular intervals. They will move over to smaller handholds, making it more difficult. If they drop, they are out. Last person's left standing wins immunity, securing their spot within the final 7.
This was a terrifying challenge. Like, absolutely terrifying.
This was so, like, intense and scary to watch. I'm like, I don't know if I could do that because I don't like, because I get very afraid of steep things. So I'm just like, I'd probably, like, be like, because, like, also, like, I can swim, but also since it's so steep and like the water might be so deep, I'd be like, can I have a life jacket, please?
I literally would have just fallen off.
Yeah, we'd both of us would probably need a life jacket so we don't like drown.
Yeah.
Because like it could be like really deep, so it'd be very scary. So it's a truly grueling challenge and tough challenge for nearly everyone, but ultimately it comes down to Jake, Austin, and Bruce, with Austin ultimately winning immunity. But I will say, Bruce literally was so close to winning again.
Yeah, he was. That's crazy.
Like he's just so good.
Also, Dee did really well in this challenge up until like she had to like basically like lie down on it. She was like, I'm not doing this. Good luck.
Yeah. And then like, oh my gosh, and then Katurah was just like shaking and freaking out. Like honestly, like I felt for her there because like I'm like, yeah, that would probably be me in this challenge. It was a tough one.
Yeah. But I mean, great win for Austin for sure. Like he definitely needed it.
Austin definitely needed it, but also Bruce too. Like if Bruce got a 3rd in a row, like that'd be
at that point it's like,
So Jeff asks Katurah what happened with her freaking out, and she says she likes being in the water and prepared for this moment, but she saw the challenge and her hands just started shaking and she doesn't know what happened. And Jeff tells her she can either take the boat back with everyone or take this opportunity surrounded by her fellow tribemates and give it a go, as she decides to get in the water and swim back with everyone, which she very much appreciates.
Yeah, that was a great moment. I love that she like faced her fears, started swimming back. Like it was really great to see. But I definitely felt for Katurah here because I feel like I would have been like in the exact same position. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this.
I know, it'd be so scary.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, let's talk about the post immunity because this was very spicy. I thought we had a lot of great moments before the challenge. or before the tribal. So everyone's heading back to camp, congratulates Austin on his win. Bruce says this is his first time not getting the necklace, but it's okay. He has an idol. He's going to play it and be safe. Again, keep that in mind. He says he's going to play the idol. He says no votes cast against him are going to count, and tonight's going to be fun. So Austin tells Bruce he's probably going to have to play the idol tonight, which he agrees with. And he tells Julie it's going to come down to the ricochet, and he says the easy vote is Jake. So Bruce says he doesn't think every single person there knows he has an idol. He's got to do it and play it. He doesn't want to be the guy who's going to be sitting there holding in a hidden immunity idol and get voted off. Again, keep that in mind. He says he doesn't want to play. He says he wants to play his idol. So Julie wants to get Bruce out or Jake, but Bruce is going to play his idol tonight. So Jake is the ricochet because she's still mad that he voted for her and he's gone. Which again makes sense. He literally remember he voted for her the round Kaleb went like that. He was trying to get Julie out, so she has not forgotten that. And I said at the time that was not going to be great for Jake, but I've seen the aftermath of that. So Dee says they're obviously going to split votes between Jake and Bruce. They're huge threats for her alliance members, and they're pretty much dominating together. If they hear names, they go after them. So Katurah tells Emily she thinks getting Jake out is a wasted vote. She thinks that they can't go the final three with anybody who people call mama, since she's so warm, especially based on how people talk about her, which Emily agrees. Everybody loves her. She says it's such a sick, disgusting, twisted, ridiculously delicious, enjoyable, terrifying game. Which make that a meme. Like just make that a meme on Twitter. I want to see that happen.
Please.
So Katurah says deep down she's seething. She's ready for Bruce to go, but he has that damn idol, so she wants Julie to be the backup. They're calling her Julie mama because they love her. She loves her so deeply that they would give her $1 million. She's super strategic, and with the Reba people, Bruce is super close to her, and everyone loves her, and that makes her super dangerous. So again, great edit here from Emily where she goes to Bruce, says Julie is not with him, and it's just like Kelly all over again wanting his jury vote. He says he doesn't care because he's playing his idol tonight, and the two of them, Katurah and Jake, can put their votes onto Julie. She says this cannot miss. It needs to be 100% solid, and he says she has him at 110%, and he will talk to Jake. So then we see Emily says that she's trying to say to Bruce to make this move and take out Julie, but the truth is she's actually lying to his face.
Yeah.
And again, just such an amazing edit. Like, I love earlier in the episode where she talks about how she wants to be honest with Bruce, and it seems like she's sincere, but in reality, she's been lying through her teeth, and just really incredible move from Emily all around here. I mean, listen, I've heard people say this on Twitter. I do think this is a little big move-itis. I will agree with that. Yeah. I think Emily wanted that resume move of like getting Bruce out, but she still did it. Like, I think this was a really great move all around.
Oh, it was. So, like she really had him convinced.
Yeah. Exactly. So basically she says if she can boost his ego and outsmart him a little, it's possible he doesn't play his idol and goes with it in his pocket. It's just the onus on her. She doubts he falls for it, but if he doesn't play it tonight, he is going home. So Bruce talks to Jake about how a lot of votes could be split there for them and 3 for Jake, and that whatever else happens, there's 2 groups, Reba's, everyone else, and if they go the ways they're going right now, it will be all the Bellas in a row, and Jake asks him who needs to go then, and Bruce then throws out Julie, because if they walk back over there and come up with no plan, Jake will go home tonight, and he asks if he still wants to, and Jake says no, and he asks if he still has an idol, and Bruce says he still does. Jake then asks why he lied about it, and Bruce says because this is a game of Survivor, and he's got to be able to play the game somehow, some way, which, again, he should have done this last round. Like, it would have been far more effective, I think. Because even if Katurah lies about it, at that point, it's like he's continually said it. It's like, okay, maybe he might actually be telling the truth. So Jake says he's wicked frustrated that he's lying to him. He's been lied to and roped and doped to make look like a fool in this game. Bruce wanting to vote for Julie on paper is a good plan, as he's good with anyone but himself. But the problem is he doesn't know who to trust. He just keeps getting lied to, not feeling like he has any ground, and is at the bottom every single time. He's literally just every single vote he's playing everyone else's arms and trying to stay alive. He knows it's a game and doesn't take it personally. It's just he's disappointed himself. He wants to come out here and be better. And I thought this honestly might have been my favorite moment of the episode. Like, just seeing Jake so upset over the fact that he's, not played the game he wanted to. He's disappointed himself. Like, I've been there so many times where it's like I thought I
Same.
was playing one way and then I wasn't, and things just weren't going right for me, and I was just feeling really hopeless. Like, again, just such an amazing moment. Like, this absolutely would not have been the episode if it was 90 minutes. I've said it a million times, but like, this is like the perfect example of that. Like, I love getting to see this moment from Jake. I love Katurah going over to him, making sure he's okay. He tells her he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know who's lying and telling the truth. She agrees that it's hard to know if people are lying daily to his face, and she tells him that she has him and to not panic. He says he's not, and he thanks her. And Bruce then comes over to make sure he's okay. He says that he's good with the plan, just thought he'd be better at the game and always feels so dumb. And Bruce tells him that he's far from dumb, especially from passing the bar. He needs to not drop himself down to what he's not. And he says he just hit the survivor wall and congrats him because because it took him longer than it took him. And he hit his 4 days ago, and he will look back on this knowing he was smarter than that. He thought he was, and Jake thanks him. And again, just a really amazing moment. I really love this a lot.
Yeah, honestly, like I really felt for Jake here a lot because like
Me too.
it really shows his vulnerability, his like
Yeah.
just his passion, like his and how upset he is and emotional. Like it's just like so effective and just like very like good moment for him.
Yeah, like I said, I think we've all been there when we like played these
Oh yeah.
games. It's like we want something to go our way and it's
Yep.
not, and we're just like, beating ourselves up about it. And I love Bruce coming over and being like, no, it's okay. You're good at what you do. And you should not be upset about this.
Yes,
So
exactly.
I really love that a lot.
It's a very like
So
it's very relatable.
yeah. So basically, Emily says this whole time she's been trying to manipulate Bruce, and she thinks the only way he doesn't play his idol is if he feels comfortable enough that he isn't the person going home. If he plays his idol, there's a question mark for who'll be voted out, and Julie is the backup target, as she is a massive threat, because if anyone goes to the M with her, they will lose. And then there's Jake, who's on the outs. He's been on the chopping block for a while, a potentially easy vote and the safer option, but she doesn't like the idea of Bruce being here. Another week with the idol, and everyone wants him gone. And by some miracle, if he doesn't play his idol tonight, they will praise her and give her the credit for pulling it off. And with that said, let's get into the tribal.
All right. So
Because there was a lot of stakes heading into this. Like, it seemed like Bruce might play it. It's going to be Julie. That's what's going to happen. But let's talk about what actually happens.
All right. Jeff tells them something feels different or he thinks he's crazy, while Emily says she doesn't think he's crazy. She says they've had a couple of tribal councils now where one person has been wearing a certain kind of necklace and now the necklace is on a different person. She thinks the energy might be a little different because of that, which is true. Jeff asks Bruce how it's different for him today, which he says is different for him because he's looked at a heck of a lot harder now than everybody else, and he knows where he stands with everyone. So he needs to be able to do the things he needs to do to ensure that he's there another day.
Yep.
Jeff asks Jake if he'd felt a different energy today, which he says he's been approached more than he has in the past couple of days. So it's nicer than being the pariah. So Jeff asks if that's how he's felt, which he says just not being in the know is tough. It's kind of calls upon a lot of insecurity. And with lawyers, there's a lot of imposter syndrome out there. Being on the outs weighs a little bit on you, which is like very true. Like,
yeah,
that's like so true with any like org or any kind of game. So Jeff asks Austin about how hard it is to not take it personally when they write your name down, which he says you hate to hurt people at a personal level and they never want to do that. But on the other hand, there's $1 million and someone not knowing a piece of information could be the difference between getting that and not getting that.
I did want to say though, back to Jake, like fucking preach king, like generally, like the imposter syndrome is real. I feel it. I very much feel that.
Oh yeah. Like true king.
Yeah, like constantly feeling like you're not good enough or that you haven't accomplished anything. Like you're just always feeling like you're kind of like, kind of shit at what you do. And in reality, you're not. Like I feel that every fucking day. So
like literally remember when you thought he was going to annoy you and be all cocky? He's not like that at all.
Yeah, that's what I love about Jake. Like I never expected him to be this vulnerable, but I also never expected him to be this real. Like he just feels like such a genuine person. And I really just love getting to see that throughout this season. Like just seeing seeing the kind of person he is, seeing the way he's evolved throughout the game, the things he's kind of learning about himself, the things that he's kind of not loving about himself, but that he's kind of learning to like about himself.
Yes.
Like, it's just been really great to see. Like, honestly, give me more Jakes and less like fucking Jonathans or something. Like,
Yeah,
this is
like
what we want to see.
like he's very kind, very genuine, and just a really overall nice guy.
Yeah, like this, like cast more people like Jake, please, because
Yes.
he just like seems like such a like genuine person, and I've really just
Mhm.
enjoyed watching him throughout this season.
Oh yeah.
And that was not something I expected to say coming in.
So Jake says he doesn't believe it's a personal thing from anybody. He just wants to get that out there right now. He's not trying to say it's a personal thing, but it does play into missing out and feeling dumb.
Oh, also cast Jake and not Danny's either, because we don't like Danny
True.
from last season.
No, because he's problematic.
Very problematic, yeah.
So, well, with views.
No.
So Jeff appreciates him sharing that because he was not the first person to be out of the loop. He's not the only person who's probably out of the loop. He says he's not dumb. He's just playing a very difficult game with where withholding information is job number one. And Jake says he knows that in his head, but sometimes the feeling's still hard.
Mm-hmm.
True. Jeff asks Julie about being out of the loop and people lying and about people calling her Mama J and the mom of the group, which she says it's also terrible for her personality when they lie to someone. And she felt terrible after Kendra not even being able to look at the jury because she trusted her, and that feels like an extra burden. So she's having her own crisis of faith with that name.
I don't know if you noticed, but when she was talking about Kendra was like fucking pissed, and she was like, no, don't even acknowledge me. Like, I'm so mad at you. Like, she just had that look on her face, like, oh, now you say this to me.
I feel like Kendra and Kelly are going to be very bitter.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah. I think this is going to be a very interesting jury whenever we get there.
Oh, yeah. I can see a lot of them being pretty bitter, honestly.
Yeah. Me too.
Which I'm here for.
Yeah.
It's going to be so entertaining. So Emily says there are benefits to being Mama J, but this is one of the drawbacks, but it's true for anyone they have to lie to with someone they're close with. They have to lie to and vote out. It's going to be painful. And then Drew mentions how the merge has been defined by steamrolls, but today the vote is more logistical, and it's because of more ambiguity around camp. And then Bruce agrees with this, having to see through words people are saying and thinking about if it's something more meaningful to something that will happen now or later within the game. And then Katurah mentions how much bigger the jury is getting, and with advantages in play, everyone has to put their foot on the gas pedal because this game is getting so much bigger around all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Jake wants to see something happen. He's here and ready to sucker punch someone.
Yeah.
It's funny.
That was great.
Julie says she would be surprised if it was her tonight based on the conversation she's had. So, and then Austin talks about how likely Tonight Idol will be played, and he's glad to be saved. Julie and Drew agree, and everyone mentions how Bruce has it, and he will be playing it tonight.
Get into that.
Emily says there is a possibility he could not play it if he's confident in what will happen tonight, but she'd be surprised thinking he's made his intentions clear.
Yeah, and I mean, this seemed like a no-brainer. Like, it seemed like Bruce was going to play it, Julie was probably going to go, or Jake was going to go, and that was going to be what happened. But let's get to what actually happens.
All right. So before the votes are read, despite knowing what's probably the right move, Bruce does not play his idol, which honestly, like, I'm surprised he was actually that confident. Like, I'm like, I thought he was just going to play it to be safe.
I mean, Emily did that. Like, honestly, like, I give Emily full credit for that. But still, like
it was a great move on her part, but Jesus Christ.
I think even being that confident, I think he still should have played it regardless. Everyone knows he has it just to get rid of it.
I know.
I think this would have been a really great move for him, but I mean, this has to be like the worst move of the season, aside from like, you know, other things. But like this was so bad.
He really just had her, like, she really had him convinced.
Yeah, I mean, I love the moment where he's like, I never thought we'd be working together after we were so against each other round one. Like, that's how convinced she had him. He was ready to like literally say like they were working together.
I know. So as a result, he ends up being the fourth member of the jury by a vote of 4-3-1. The jury is also relieved to finally see it happen and applaud him on his way out. Like
Well, not the
nobody
jury.
even,
By the jury, I meant the cast.
yeah. I mean, nobody even dislikes him. They were just like, he's a big threat. He needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean this was crazy. The fact that it was 4-3-1 also just amazing all around. We love votes like that.
Literally, if
Literally
like
Jake would have gone if he played his idol.
I know. Oh my god, that's insane.
Yeah.
So, in his retrospective, he says he's holding his idol and says it's not too bad, it's cute. He didn't play his idol today because he was convinced otherwise. They hatched a good plan and it made him feel comfortable, which kudos to them. He'll keep smiling no matter what. It's what he does, and he had a blast, and it's been absolutely amazing. And he's very thankful to have the chance to come back, and he truly loves this game. Like, we love that Bruce was like, okay, yeah, it's a survivor move. Like, he's like not even like mad.
Yeah, no, he was definitely like he recognized like why it needed to happen. And I think when you play the game like Bruce has, like you kind of have to just like respect it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, listen, Bruce did not play a good game. Like I'll just say that
No,
right up
he
front.
really didn't.
He did not play a good game at all. I love the fact that he was able to play this game. Like I will get, I will definitely say I'm
Same.
very happy he got to play the game this time and he really got to show like his
And
potential.
I'm glad he made jury and merge.
But he did not play the way I expected him to at all.
No.
He really came in like guns blazing, had basically the whole tribe loving him, and then pretty much everyone just kind of started to see through it. And I think the problem with Bruce is he wasn't adaptable. He didn't know how to switch it up. He didn't know how to play a more sort of puppy dog type game that Jake is. Like he didn't know how to do that. He didn't know how to play on the bottom. And because of that, he just completely just fell off the wagon pretty much. Like anytime he had an idea, it wasn't working out. Nobody really wanted to strategize with him. Nobody really wanted to talk to him. Even when they did try to strategize with him, it never was effective. And he just was never able to get back the momentum he had in the beginning of the game. And I think, it really just chalks up to the fact that, like, he just did not know how to not play this, like, domineering sort of, leader type game. He wasn't that anymore. And it took him way too long to, like, acknowledge that. And I think him winning those immunities and kind of just, again, feeling like he was on top, feeling like he was still in a good position, but still not really doing much with those immunities, I think ultimately just really end up hurting him. So, yeah, I mean, I love Bruce as a character. He was great to watch. I do think this was a really good way for him to go out. It just, again, did not at all play the way I expected him to. I was honestly kind of disappointed by how he played the game.
I know, like, he was very entertaining. Love him as a person. Like, he seems like a very genuine person, but in a way, he was like too direct, but like, which is not a bad thing. He was just like very direct and just, wasn't adaptable. Like, it made people very frustrated with him. But like, I mean, obviously, they love him as a person. They were just like, he needs to go as a game wise. But he was super fun to watch, and I'm glad he had more of a chance because I mean, I felt bad for him having to leave last time. But and I really did enjoy him. He just he just definitely didn't play a super good game besides like physically. But I mean, he was still like super entertaining to watch, and love his game rivalry with Katurah so much.
Yeah, I'm glad that lasted as long as it did. I think this was definitely like the best possible end to it. But again, I'm very frustrated by this move that Katurah made because I think she has a very small chance of winning this game at this point. I don't see her getting to the end. I don't see her making the moves that she needed to. I think if Katurah wanted to secure herself in a better spot, she needed to link up with Bruce and Emily. But because she didn't let him go through with this lie, it's honestly now worsened her chances. Like, I don't think there's a lot of people who are actively like looking out for Katurah. I don't think there's a lot of people who see Katurah as like this person they want to stick with. I think Katurah at this point probably is either going to get to the end and lose, or she's going to end up going in like 5th. Like I can absolutely see that happening. Like I think she gets 5th at this point. I think that's probably what's going to
I
happen
can
to
see
her.
that. Yeah.
So it sucks because like I love Katurah, but I think this was a really like very bad move from her, and I don't think that
Yeah.
she handled it very well at all. It's also important to note, despite Emily thinking she made this great move, Kaleb did not seem impressed by her on the jury. Like he was like, I don't know why you did
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah,
that's something else to.
I feel like Katurah is going to be someone they're pretty bitter at.
Well, I don't think necessarily bitter. I think just more unimpressed by her game. I think
Yeah.
they're gonna think like you had an opportunity to do stuff and you didn't. Like I can absolutely see them doing that. With that said, let's talk about the final 7 a little bit, negating the fact of what happened tonight because we know what happened tonight. We haven't watched the episode yet, but we know.
We haven't watched the episode because we've been so busy. But that one we're going to probably cover later this weekend or on Monday or something.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, I don't think it's hard to imagine that the Reba 4 just steamroll. I think that's pretty much what's going to happen right now. Which, I mean, it's not the most exciting outcome, but I think the way the votes have played out and the way tribal councils have gone, that's what's kept it exciting. It hasn't felt like a steamroll, but, like, it's more so when you look at the amount of Rebas versus the amount of Bellos versus the amount of Lulus, like, it very much is one. And at this point, like I do very much see D winning. I think that's absolutely what's going to happen. I think she's just really killed this game. I've seen people say that D's like the person that everyone thinks is winning and then doesn't. But I mean, my question is, if D doesn't win, then who does? Like that's my thing.
Yeah, like she's definitely one with the strongest chance to win. I think. I feel like Jake and Katurah are very like low chances to win.
I think Jake has a little bit more of a chance just based on how he has been very adaptable. He has been trying, he has been making, moves and things like that. He did believe Bruce with his lie. He was going to go along with it. Like, I do think Jake has a chance. I just think it's very slim.
Yeah, definitely.
Compared to like Katurah, who I think completely squandered her chances.
I do think not getting into what happens with the next episode, but I think the ones with the highest chance to win are like D, Emily, Drew, but also it's hard because of his like arguments and fights. But
yeah,
I definitely think those 3 for sure, and Jake.
Yeah, what do you think about Austin?
I mean, I could see Austin as well. I could see him winning too. And especially if he doesn't even use his idols or anything, like he can just be like, "Yeah, look, I have 2 idols, and I didn't even need to use them." Like he's definitely been good, very socially. But I do see him kind of leaving around like 5 or 6 with like an idol in his pocket because I could see them being like, "Yeah, let's take him out."
Yeah, and I mean, Austin has played a really good game. Like I said, I think his ability to lie in the way that he has been very impressive. Especially compared to like other people, like no one's caught him in a lie. No one's caught on to no one's figured out that Austin's been lying. So I think that's like a really good position to be in. So I still think everyone left has I think this has been a very impressive cast for the most part. And I think that there are very few people who are going to win this season where I'm like, that's not a good winner. Even if Katurah wins, like I still want Katurah to win. I just don't think she can.
Same.
That's the thing.
Yes, I hope. I mean, I would. She was definitely one of my winner picks going into the season.
Yeah, I just think she made a really piss poor move.
So. I know. Ugh.
But we'll have to see.
We'll see.
But, either way, we have 3 more episodes left. Crazy how the season's already coming to an end, but I'm very excited to see how it all ends up playing out.
Yes, we'll probably do. Obviously, like I said, we'll probably do this week's episode this weekend or on Monday or something, and then maybe if we're free on Wednesday, we'll do that one live.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But is there things we want to plug?
Right now it's really just Survivor we're doing. Whenever we're caught up on House of Villains, we're probably just gonna do a little mini recap of each episode, give our thoughts, and then once we're all caught up, we'll probably do the rest kind of weekly. But obviously the first 6, 7, 8, whatever, we're just gonna do kind of little.
There's not many left. There's only 10 episodes.
Oh my god, yeah. Unless we just end up making it a season review as well.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, because like literally, we have a lot of shows that we need to either rewatch or restart or finish just to kind of like do season reviews of. So right now, the only one is Survivor, and then we'll probably do a little cast, and then we'll probably do a little draft for reindeer games as well.
Yeah, I'm not excited for reindeer games at all. I have literally zero excitement for it, just based on what it's gonna be. But it is
Yeah,
Big Brother, and because of that, I think we
I
should
will
at
say,
least do like.
so far we've had two for sure's been released today, which is obviously Queen Taylor Hale, which we're obviously rooting for.
And that's it. That's it. No one else. No one else. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Just Taylor. Just Taylor.
the other person we just do not like, so forget about him.
What other person? It's just Taylor. What do you mean? There's only one person.
I wonder who's going to get her on the draft.
We'll have to see, but no, there's only, I don't know what you mean. There's only been one person that's announced. We don't have to talk about anyone else.
Yeah, it'll be a very interesting one to cover.
There it is.
I will say it's only 6 episodes, so it's probably going to be obviously it's going to be a very quick season to do.
It's going to be beyond the edge level quick. Like we're not going to have anything to say. I'm calling it now. It's literally just challenges. Like, what do we even talk about?
I mean, we could do like a live react for the premiere, maybe.
What's there to live react? It's challenges.
I mean, yeah, but like, since we just want to see it for our favorites, obviously.
Yeah, or lack of, but yes.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, but other than that, that's it for this video. As always, comment down below, let us know what you guys think of these last 2 episodes of Survivor. Like I said, we will get caught up to the latest episode sometime this weekend, so definitely look forward to that. But with that, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And remember, couples who podcast together, stay together. We will see you guys later.
Have a good night, guys.